tonight at this ballpark in Kansas City, Missouri, as the winner of the World Series is determined. And the script comes to you right out of Fantasyland. Two teams vie for one title, and each leads with its ace. John Tudor, who's already won twice in the series, will be on the mound to oppose the incredible wonderkind Bret Saberhagen.
I feel a little bit more comfortable now that my wife Janine's had the baby. I can go out there and concentrate mainly on baseball and worry about each hitter as they come up, and in between innings I can concentrate on who's coming up the next inning and try to go out there and do a good job and keep us in the ball game as long as I can.
Pressure is a word everybody loves to throw around. Pressure, pressure this, pressure that. What about the pressure in your mind of pitching the 7th game of a World Series?
I think the pressure in that game is that it's going to be the game that's remembered. It's not going to be the game that's remembered for people aren't going to remember what Bret Saberhagen did throughout the course of the season or what John Tudor did throughout the course of the season. They're going to remember what they did in the 7th game of the World Series. And I think that in itself is the key pressure in the ball game.
ABC Sports presents the 1985 World Series. From Royal Stadium in Kansas City, Game 7, the St. Louis Cardinals and the Kansas City Royals. Last night, a classic and a classic pitchers duel through 7. Charlie Lebrand for the Royals and Danny Cox for the Cardinals. Then in the 8th, Brian Harper, pinch hitting for Cox, broke his bat, but this single to center made it 1-0 St. Louis, and it looked like it would stand up. But then, with 1 out in the 9th, Dane Orge singles to right to drive in 2. Kansas Cityans took to the streets to celebrate. They hope it continues tonight. Another gorgeous night, temperature in the 60s. Let's review how we got here. Games 1 and 2 belong to St. Louis. They went back to Busch Stadium. In Game 3, Kansas City made it St. Louis 2 and KC 1. And then Tudor won Game 4 3-0. It looked like the Cardinals were ready to clinch, but in Game 5, KC won. And then the dramatic game last night in which Kansas City, with 2 in the 9th, beat St. Louis. Hello again, everyone. I'm Al Michaels, and welcome to Game 7. And consider for a moment that 8 months ago, the Kansas City Royals were in Fort Myers, Florida, and the St. Louis Cardinals were in St. Petersburg, Florida. Through spring training, a 162-game regular season, the playoffs, and now we are down to 1 game for the world title. I am not sure that is precisely what Abner Doubleday had in mind, but I don't think he would have complained. Let me turn now to Reggie Jackson. Your thoughts on Game 7?
You know, the 7th game of the World Series really doesn't need any hype, Al. 7th game of the World Series is every little leaguer's fantasy. It's every big leaguer's dream. To me, it's the sporting event all over the world. You know, as a participant, you come to the ball game today, as I did in 1972 and again in 1973. You come to the ballpark today knowing that there'll be no more batting practice, no more ground balls, there'll be no more putting the uniform on until 1986. You'd also like to see a great ball game pitched by your pitcher. You know, the St. Louis Cardinals are a team that comes to the game today, and the only thing that they can do is blow this World Series if they don't win it. If they win it tonight, then everybody's going to say they should have did that a couple of days ago. The Kansas City Royals, on the other hand, are a team that tasted defeat last night, and whatever they do is really a bonus. They're a team that was just thrilled to be here today, Al. What I'd like to see before the World Series is over, talk about 2 guys that have had a great season, John Tudor and Bret Saberhagen. I'd like to see a scoreless duel go to about 10 or 11 innings, then let it be won or lost in the bullpen.
One more time. The envelope, sir, and the winner is?
If you like underdogs, you got to love Kansas City. But I'd like to say to you tonight, Al, even though I picked the Kansas City Royals, how does Reggie Jackson pick an underdog? Have I ever been an underdog?
Not to my knowledge. Well, we'll be finding out as to Game 7, the Cardinals taking on the Kansas City Royals to determine the winner of the World Series. And we'll be back in a moment.
This ABC Sports exclusive is brought to you by McDonald's. It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's. And by the people at Merrill Lynch, whose resources and solutions make them a breed apart.
Predicting the future is never a sure thing, but some people have a way of hitting the mark. Consider Merrill Lynch. In '79, it was said stocks were dead. We said they weren't. Later, hardly anyone saw the dawn of a new bull market in bonds. We did. Last year, others said high inflation would be back. We said it wouldn't, and recommended investing in financial assets. We called it the way we saw it and ended up being right because of one key reason: our resources. They're unsurpassed by anyone.
Bob.
Hi, Tom.
I just saw your client out there.
Okay, thanks.
By the way, do you think he'll be surprised by your recommendation?
Well, he's a smart man, and he knows our track record.
To find out what Merrill Lynch is saying right now, call 1-900-210-1000. More resources, better solutions. Merrill Lynch people, a breed apart.
When it's freezing cold and the sirens blow and the mercury's down to 20 below, you don't need problems, you gotta go. That's why America goes with Prestone.
A fresh fill of Prestone 2 antifreeze fights freeze up and rust up too. A radiator could look this bad after just 10,000 miles of driving on weak, neglected antifreeze, while the Prestone radiator looks this good. Get the Prestone difference.
America goes and goes and goes with Prestone.
An ABC News Brief brought to you by the Ralston Purina Company. Now from Washington, Tom Gerald.
Good evening. U.S. and Soviet officials are at a standoff tonight over the fate of a Ukrainian sailor who jumped from a Soviet ship in New Orleans on Thursday. The seaman was returned to the ship by U.S. border patrolmen who apparently could not understand he was trying to defect. In Paris, a team of gunmen made a daring daytime robbery of the Marmottan Museum today, making off with 9 priceless paintings, including Claude Monet's Impression Sunrise. Now this.
Kit Miller, are you treating your puppy like a dog?
Oh, no. Dog food is for dogs. My puppy gets puppy food. Puppy Chow brand puppy food. I know puppies need more nutrition, and Purina Puppy Chow has it.
Good for you, Kit Miller.
No, good for him.
Auto workers for Chrysler have voted to approve a new contract ending a 12-day walkout by 70,000 union members. That's News Brief. More news later on the ABC Weekend Report.
Here is the PA announcer at Royal Stadium in Kansas City, Jack Layton.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's color guard is being presented by the 139th Tactical Airlift Group, Missouri Air National Guard. And now, to honor America, baseball is happy to have with us one of America's most popular singing groups, the Oak Ridge Boys. Here to sing our national anthem are Dwayne Allen, Joe Bonsall, William Lee Golden, and Richard Sturban. Please welcome the Oak Ridge Boys.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bumpers singing in air, came through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the
We'll return with ABC's exclusive presentation of the World Series after this message and a word from our local stations.
Introducing McDonald's new lettuce and tomato hamburger, the McDLT. You get a hot side hot. You get a cool side cool. New McDLT. Keeps the hot, keeps the cool. McDLT, McDLT. Keeps the. New McDLT. Could be the best tasting lettuce and tomato hamburger ever.
It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's.
New McDLT.
What secrets the Soviets know about us, Monday on ABC's World News Tonight.
Hey, if you could move those famous legs a little, a fellow might be able to sit down.
Well, if it isn't Mr. Kelly. Watch your step, Sonny boy. These are new shoes.
Sonny boy? I gotta say, you're looking pretty turned out, kid.
Not bad for over on the road.
You know, Fred, you never stop traveling in style.
Come see what it's like to travel in style on Western Airlines.
It's the only way to fly.
Now, a world of magic is in your hands.
Hey, stop! Dragon breath!
Panasonic presents Omnimovie, a camera and video recorder in one. Capture magic moments forever.
Get a close-up, Joe.
Yeah. Omnimovie uses full-size VHS tapes, plays Hollywood movies or your own.
Here's right, Santa.
Don't miss a single Omnimovie magic moment from Panasonic, just slightly ahead of our time.
For the California body. Under stress, diet, and exercise, the body burns magnesium, losing stamina. Vitel, rich with magnesium, is a naturally sparkling mineral water. So California bodies, remember, if you're gonna burn it, you've gotta return it. Vitel, beyond refreshment.
The lottery's big spin, Monday night at 9.
Recognized around the world as the leader in sports television, ABC Sports, celebrating its 25th anniversary. ABC Sports presents the 1985 World Series. Live from Royal Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri, it's the St. Louis Cardinals and the Kansas City Royals in Game 7. ABC Sports exclusive presentation of the 1985 World Series is brought to you by Chevrolet, who invite you to live the style, performance, and fun of Chevrolet in '86. By Budweiser, for all you do, this Bud's for you. By McDonald's, it's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's. And by the people at Merrill Lynch, whose resources and solutions make them a breed apart.
Welcome back to the 7th game of the World Series, a term that by itself has a magical ring. Last night, Dane Orge, age 35, tears streaming down his cheeks, said after his game-winning hit, "This is what you dream about as a little boy." Tonight you can bump it up a notch, because how many kids in this country in the last 80 years have gone to bed at night dreaming of being the hero in the 7th game of a World Series? This is the 29th time a 7th game has been played. Somebody will live that to reality tonight. Let me turn to Jim Palmer, and let's talk about a tremendous pitching matchup.
Well, it certainly is. You talked about the 162-game schedule going through the playoffs. If you're Dick Hauser or you're Whitey Herzog, of all your staff, what pitchers do you want to pitch tonight? You want Saberhagen and Tudor out on the mound. There's quite a lot of contrast between the two of them. Tudor's left-handed, Saberhagen's right-handed. One has a very stoic personality. That's John Tudor. The other guy has been mugging it up in the dugout throughout the World Series. John Tudor's 31, Saberhagen's 21. But I think there are also a lot of similarities. Number one, they're tremendous poised pitchers. They have command of all their pitches. They have great control, and I think that's the key tonight. I think if you see them crack, you will see it's because they don't throw strikes. Another thing that comes to mind is Saberhagen, after the team trailed 3-1, all he wants to do is really get another chance to go out on the mound. Tudor's been sitting really in the dugout since they had the 3-1 lead, saying, I really don't want to win. We want to win tomorrow night, and I can just go home. I pitch more innings than I ever have. So tonight it ought to be an interesting matchup. I think they'll both pitch well. The key is somebody else on either the Cardinals or the Kansas City will have a big night, and it will really make the pitching secondary.
All right, so that's the matchup tonight. And as I turn now to Tim McCarver, before we get started on this game, how about a post-mortem on last night's sensational game?
Well, that's one of the big reasons that I think the Kansas City Royals have a slight edge tonight. Not because they won last night's ball game, but because of the way they won last night's ball game. And because of that way, I think it deserves one more look. Todd Worrell, the third Cardinal pitcher, pitching to George Orta, who taps one right side. Worrell covering. Jack Clark tosses to Worrell. Look at Don Dinkinger. He is the first base umpire. He is safe. George Orta at first. Nobody out, but the Cards with a chance to recover. Pop fly by Steve Balboni, who is not bunting. Jack Clark looks at Porter once. Now he looks at the dugout again. When he looks back up, he can't find the ball, and the ball drops harmlessly out of play. Balboni singles, first and second Cardinals. Nobody out. After an aborted sacrifice, first and second, one out, and this cross-up of Darrell Porter. Darrell was looking for the fastball. He got a slider from Todd Worrell. Runners moved to second and third, and Hal McRae was intentionally walked for Dane Orridge. A single to right field. The tying run scores, and a perfect throw by Andy Van Slyke, not in time to get Jim Sundberg and the Kansas City Royals dugout emptied. And, of course, a very joyous night for the Kansas City Royals. And I think, Al, because of that, they are a slight favorite tonight, because I don't believe that they have let up throughout the day in that Royals clubhouse a little bit earlier. Those guys are ready to take on the Cardinals. And, of course, the Cardinals are ready, and as ready as John Tudor will allow them to be.
All right, Game 7 about ready to come your way right now. Once again, let's join the PA announcer, Jack Layton.
Ladies and gentlemen, we direct your attention to the Royals dugout area, where tonight's ceremonial first pitch will be thrown out by Joe McGuff, sports editor of the Kansas City Star and one of the nation's most distinguished writers. He has covered the top sporting events all over the world during his 36-year career. His coverage of Major League Baseball started back in 1955 with the Kansas City A's through the Royals' reign in the 1985 World Series. This past summer, he received the prestigious J.G. Taylor Spink Award, and his plaque nests permanently in the writer's wing of the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. He is accompanied tonight by his wife, Kay. Whenever you're ready, Joe, fire away. Congratulations, Joe. Kansas City is proud of you.
Settle in. Here we go. Game 7 of the 1985 World Series.
No matter what unexpected problems should arise, Transamerica Property, Casualty, and Life Insurance can be there to protect you.
Hey, you big ape! Who's gonna pay for this mess?
Transamerica. Insurance, finance, manufacturing, transportation, innovation. The power of the pyramid is working for you.
I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control, and I think I like it. Oh yeah, I'm so excited, woo-woo, and I just can't hide it.
Polaroid instant cameras do what no other kind of camera can do.
Hello, Deli.
Now get all your deli favorites
Well, hello, Deli.
in new Oscar Mayer Select Slices.
Oscar Mayer put deli taste where it belongs. Smoked turkey breast, fellas and all the rest. Fellas.
9 select slices like corned beef and pastrami.
So take a bite, fellas. Oscar Mayer's got it right, fellas.
Deli taste is here today.
Deli taste the whole new way.
Deli will never be the same again.
The following message is furnished by Major League Baseball.
1985 has been a record-breaking year for me and for the whole family of baseball. Like any family, we've had some problems, and we're working hard to solve them. But there have been some great performances, too. Take that gentleman in California and that kid in New York. And, of course, my forever young teammate in Chicago. So from all of us in the family of baseball to our family of friends, thanks for sharing a great season.
Major League Baseball, a family tradition. Share it all.
Dick Hauser comes out. So does Whitey Herzog. Remember the other night when Herzog was talking out of the corner of his mouth? He was upset with the calls he was getting when Andujar was pitching. And Herzog, who was very critical and very outspoken, is remaining mild, but just maybe getting his point across here.
Don Dinkinger was the home plate umpire when John Tudor faced the Royals in Game 1, and coincidentally, it was Dinkinger at first base last night. And he made the safe call, as we said in our pregame comments, as you saw in that little film clip, and it's Dinkinger back behind the plate tonight.
Not often does an umpire get a hand, but there was a small smattering of applause when Dinkinger's name was just announced. Cardinal lineup tonight. Like last night, they go with Ozzie Smith in the leadoff spot, and Willie McGee, who had batted #1 for the first 5 games, is second. Tommy Herr is third, still looking for his first RBI in the World Series. Then Clark, the cleanup batter. Andy Van Slyke batting 5th. Terry Pendleton, the switch-hitting third baseman, the #6 hitter. Tito Landrum is in the 7th spot tonight. Darrell Porter does the catching. And the pitcher is John Tudor. Take a look now defensively at the Royals. Steve Balboni, the first baseman, and Frank White, who made a nice little play last night on that ball hit by McGee up the middle, and that choked off what would have been a Cardinal rally in the 8th inning. They settled for 1. Buddy Biancalana, we all know about him now, the shortstop. And George Bret at third. In the outfield, Lonnie Smith in left field. And along with Willie Wilson in center, those two play every day. And the right field situation will platoon with Darrell Motley getting the start tonight against the left-hander Tudor. Jim Sundberg, the kind of guy who it takes an entire 2-week period like this to really appreciate, is the catcher. And on the mound is the cool and composed one, and it's a cliche to say that, but how else do you describe Bret Saberhagen?
Other than very talented. What impressed me in Game 3, 9 innings, 6 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, which is very impressive. And he's not a strikeout pitcher, even though in September he did have games with 10 and 12 strikeouts. Features a fastball, a changeup, and a curveball. But what impressed me about the third game was he didn't have his changeup working earlier in the game, which has been his best off-speed pitch. Kind of put in his back pocket till late in the ball game, went with his curveball, and all of a sudden 2 strikeouts in the 8th inning with his changeup. So he's a type of pitcher that seems to be able to establish what his best pitch is early, which usually allows him to stay in the game a lot longer.
Ozzie Smith, the MVP of the League Championship Series, but 1 for 19 in the World Series. The switch-hitting shortstop to lead things off. So on a cool and somewhat breezy evening, here we go, Game 7. That's right. Smith, McGee, and Herr. Ozzie still making contact despite the 1 for 19 he has not struck out in the series. 0-2.
To me, Al, the big interest, I mean, everybody says the big game, everybody down on the field saying who's going to win, Tudor and Saberhagen. If you're a pitcher, you can't throw any harder. I mean, if you try to throw harder, you lose your feel, you lose your control. You can't make the ball break any sharper when you throw a curveball. What I think Reggie Jackson said last night is really playing or pitching within yourself, using all the tools that got you to where you are right now, and that's 20 wins during the regular season and 1 in the World Series.
Little chopper foul, 1-2. Last night's star, Dane Orge, who got a great ovation when he came out for batting practice amongst the early arrivals, looking on. 1-2. in the air to center field. And Ozzie will be 1 for 20 as Willie Wilson puts it away. Now Willie McGee, the league batting champion. McGee last night was 0 for 4. He had a chance in the 8th inning with a score of 1-0 St. Louis. He came up with the bases loaded and hit that ground ball up the middle, and Frank White was able to turn it into a force. Mike Smith, a switch hitter. 1-0.
Jim, you said to act natural and to stay within yourself. Don't you find it very difficult in this situation to do that?
Oh, most definitely. One of the worst things a pitcher can do is tense up. When you tense up, what it does is you just don't have the looseness with your wrist and your fingers. And when you do that, the ball straightens out.
That's in the air to center field. Wilson broke the wrong way, comes racing in, and he does that time and time again with his speed. So again, Wilson having trouble reading it off the bat, but it hangs for him. 2 down.
This ball in on Willie McGee. There have not been a lot of balls hit hard off Kansas City pitching. As Al said, Wilson broke back and now in. Speed makes up for a lot of mistakes in the outfield. But my point about Bret Saberhagen and John Tudor, you're almost asked to act normal in an abnormal situation.
Tommy Herr tries to drag his way on, and the count is 0-1. Well, what's really abnormal is that 3 years ago, Bret Saberhagen is in line at a high school graduation.
1982, a graduate from Cleveland High in Reseda, California. His last high school game he pitched was in Dodger Stadium.
0-2, Dick Hauser, who's managed the Royals since 1981. Whitey Herzog seeking his 2nd world title with the Cardinals. One and 2. Herr, who drove in 110 runs during the regular season, has none in the World Series. Partially, or in good measure really, because Ozzie Smith has not been getting on at all in front of him. McGee has, but not Smith. 1-2 the count.
That's one of the big reasons Herr had such a good year. He had McGee and Coleman batting in front of him and Jack Clark behind him. Sandwiched in front of power and behind speed. That's a good formula to drive in runs.
Well, if you're a pitcher and you know a guy can run on first base, you'll throw a lot of fastballs, and Herr's smart enough to know that.
That's hit in the air to shallow left field, and Biancalana, looking up into the night sky, puts it away. 3 up, 3 down. Cards nothing. Royals coming up.
The last half of the 9th inning. And to go over that Berra play once again, it was a hard-hit drive down the first base side. The Nelson fielded on the first hop and tagged the bag. At first, eliminated Berra. He was out. And then Mantle could have been in a rundown, but it was not the case. He dove back safely to first base. Here's a ball 1 too high down to Mazeroski. And the Yankees have tied the game in the top of the 9th inning. Well, a little while ago when we mentioned the big one...
Season after season, the people who brew Budweiser have been proud to be part of America's national pastime with you.
Martin Ditmar throws. Here's a swing and a high fly ball going deep left. They do it. Back to the ball.
Royals lineup tonight, as usual. Lonnie Smith is the leadoff man. Smith hitting .333 in the series, and then comes Willie Wilson, also having a good series. George Bret, who was stymied last night, went 0 for 4. Frank White, the cleanup hitter. Tonight they have Jim Sundberg, who scored the winning run last night, batting 5th. Steve Balboni hitting 6th. Darryl Motley batting 7th, the right fielder. Buddy Biancalana hitting .333 in the series as the shortstop, and there is Saberhagen, who set him down 1-2-3. And the Cardinals defensively, the outfield of Landrum, McGee, and Van Slyke in right, Pendleton, Smith, Herr, and Clark in the infield. Porter back of the plate, and John Tudor, who has been magnificent, Jim, with 3 days rest this season working.
Well, he has. In the regular season, he was 6-0 with an ERA of 0.69, which it's mind-boggling. He's just been magnificent. You can almost, and Tim, I know you alluded this the other night, you can watch Darryl Porter, who will be catching him, move in and out, and you can tell what kind of not only stuff he has, but what kind of control. Saberhagen I look at as a power pitcher. Tudor is pretty much a control pitcher, an excellent changeup. You can almost know it's coming. He has such great arm action, you can't pick it up. And as you said, I'm not going to go into the whole description because I can't remember it. He's kind of like a surgeon with a scalpel. He'll really cut you up. Stays out of the middle of the plate, and when he does that, he's successful.
A heart surgeon. Pitch outside to Lonnie Smith, 1-0.
Yeah, the only problem is, as we said the other night, when he takes the heart out of a team, he doesn't replace it.
And he's done that a few times since early June. 1-0 to Smith is fouled away. Since early June, John Tudor is 23-2, with both losses coming to the Dodgers and both to Fernando Valenzuela. Popped in the air, right side for Van Slyke coming on, and there's one away. Jim, you've been here many times. Now tonight it's breezy. It's breezy for the first time in a game in Kansas City in the World Series. The flags seem to be blowing from right toward left. What about the effect on the ball in the air here?
Well, the ball that really travels is really from the bullpen over. You hit the ball down the line, and you're going to look at the wind and say which pitcher does it favor. It definitely favors Saberhagen. There'll be a lot more right-handed batters hitting off of Tudor. If they hit the ball, talking about Kansas City, from the bullpen over, the ball is going to carry very well.
Wilson takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Home runs have been a scarcity in this World Series. In the 6 games, there have been 3. And none in this ballpark. 0-2. Temperature is 62. It was up in the 70s again today. Just gorgeous. Wind appears to be, as we sit here, a little bit more than 7 miles per hour. It has probably picked up. 1 ball, 2 strikes to count on Wilson, a switch hitter. 278 during the regular season. And his career against Tudor reflected there. Remember, Tudor spent a number of seasons with the Boston Red Sox in the American League. So it's a case of several of the Royals having had prior experience to the World Series facing Tudor.
Batting coach Lee May for the Kansas City Royals was talking to him before the game, and I said, what's the key? What have you advised your hitters to do against Tudor? He said, we have to hit the ball up the middle. We have to go the other way. If we try to pull them, we don't have a chance.
Grounded to short. The Wizard of Oz throws out Willie Wilson, and there are 2 down.
Of course, I'm sure there are a lot of batting coaches around the National League that said the exact same thing.
Well, that's the thing about John Tudor. If you try to go up the middle with him, he does have enough velocity to get in your kitchen and to throw you inside, and that's what he did with Willie Wilson. So if you're looking for the ball away to try to hit back through the originator, and he gets inside, then he'll jam you, and that's what just happened to Willie.
2 out, bases empty, no score in the bottom of the first inning. Bret at the plate. And he rips it into right field for a base hit. Well, how long did you expect him to stay in a slump? 2 nights?
Well, he was out early taking some extra hitting. High fastball, not a great pitch, but it's still up in the strike zone, and to be a good hitter, you got to be able to get on top of the ball. You can see for yourself, fastball is in the center of the plate. You got to have a quick bat to get on top of that type of fastball.
Frank White, 6 for 24 in the series. Hits it in the air to center field, deep but playable for McGee, and that's about a 395-foot out. Bret a single. They strand him. We played one. No score in Game 7.
The essence of hitting. George Bret.
Some guys say it's the rhythm, reading the pitch. For me, it's a feeling that says I'm going downtown.
The essence of shaving.
This is Atra by Gillette. It pivots so the twin blades stay on your beard longer. But what Atra is all about is the feeling that says you just got Gillette's best shave.
Gillette, the essence of shaving.
That thing works like a Chevy truck. But me and my buddies want to get away on a rough, tough expedition. What works for us is my rough, tough sport truck, Chevy S10 Maxi Cab. It's got room for all our survival gear.
And more room inside than any compact pickup ever.
So bring on the wild, bring on the mud.
There's nothing like roughing it. Hey, if it doesn't fit my S10, it doesn't fit my life.
Fit an S10 Maxi Cab, pickup, or Blazer in your life with low 8.8% financing.
Now, another way to spell relief. Use sodium-free Rolaids. Like regular Rolaids, it consumes all the acid required to bring millions 100% relief. Plus, it's rich in calcium. Regular Rolaids and new sodium-free Rolaids for 100% relief.
Smell this fresh-cut cedar.
Nothing can penetrate this stuffy nose.
This can.
Hull's Vapor Action penetrates to help your stuffy nose feel clearer while Hull's soothes your cough. For penetrating relief, get Hull's Vapor Action.
The Los Angeles Raiders, when it comes to playing on Monday nights, they have no equal. They'll battle the San Diego Chargers live at 9 Eastern, Monday on ABC.
That's tomorrow. Let's document today in the NFL. Denver wins across the parking lot over the Chiefs. Houston upsets St. Louis. It's already been a sour day in St. Louis. Dallas wins. Philadelphia a 4-point winner over Buffalo. Indianapolis routs Green Bay. Detroit upsets Miami. Bears keep rolling. New England by 18 over Tampa Bay. The Jets come from behind to beat Seattle. Washington knocks off Cleveland, and the Giants are a winner over the Saints. Cincinnati by 5 over Pittsburgh, and the 49ers get back in gear, handing the Rams their first loss. Second inning. Jack Clark to lead things off. No score. Bret Saberhagen working on the Cardinal cleanup hitter and starts him with a good curve for a strike. 0-1. And he doesn't like the call.
He doesn't like that call because that ball's unhittable. Talk about a good curveball. Again, it's not where the catcher catches the ball. It's where it goes over the plate. A lot of times a curveball will look low, but when it went over the plate, it was a strike.
1-1 the count. Clark, Van Slyke, and Pendleton in the second inning.
Kind of like Jack Clark saying, hey, doesn't he know I'm a first ball fastball hitter? And he throws me a curveball like that.
Herzog back of Johnny Lewis and Ivan De Jesus. And that's hit into right field for a base hit. So Clark off the end of the bat the other way. And the Cardinals have their first hit. So the leadoff man gets aboard for St. Louis, and Andy Van Slyke will be the batter.
I guess Jack Clark proving also that he's a fourth ball fastball hitter right here. A 2-1 fastball away, and he smokes it to right. I've never really been able to understand that first ball fastball deal. I mean, you really handcuff a catcher when you tell him don't never throw a first ball fastball hitter a fastball on the first pitch.
Clark bluffs going, and Van Slyke swings and misses.
Well, that's why you can't always listen to the guy that tells you that.
That's exactly right. Those scouting reports, you have to decide what's best for you. They are helpful to a degree and to a point.
0-1. Clark at first base. Right field has been an area of desolation for both teams. Cedeno and Van Slyke have not hit a lick. And Motley, who's out there tonight, and Sheridan have not hit. That's line just foul and knocks down the first base umpire, Billy Williams, who was behind Balboni, and he has to go down. I'm all right, said Bill.
Well, Billy Williams still showing there are some reflexes in the old guy. Gets out of the way. The ball is just foul. Kind of an unusual pitch. You throw a fastball right by a guy and come back with a changeup. especially with a runner on first. You have that big hole into right field, but
you can see on a ball hit back to Saberhagen that Buddy Biancalana's got to cover second base because Frank White is playing Van Slyke to pull. No way for White to ever get over there, so he has cut down that hole somewhat, but I agree with you, Jim. Off-speed pitchers are not good with a guy holding a runner close.
1-2. Bret Saberhagen. He or Ron Guidry will win the Cy Young. There's little doubt about that. And again, we might mention it one more time. Postseason play does not count. Van Slyke becomes Saberhagen's first strikeout victim. And he's 0 for 8 now in the series.
Well, he can be overpowering. We talked about the 10 and 12 strikeout games. He struck out 8 against the Cardinals in the third game. Good running fastball. It's just tough to catch up with that kind of pitch when it has that kind of movement at 92 miles per hour.
Terry Pendleton, who made some sparkling defensive plays in the league championship series. And he's been solid and steady defensively in the World Series. And had the big hit in game 2. 0-1.
We've talked really over the course of the first 6 games in this game that it's been a pitcher's World Series. Very few big innings. But it seems the Cardinals have been very poor at advancing runners. Perfect example there. Get the leadoff man on. No advancement of Clark to second base to put a little bit of pressure on Saberhagen.
In the air to center field, and an easy play for Willie Wilson. And that's Willie's third putout. 2 down with Clark still at first base after the leadoff single, and Landrum is the batter. And you can now extend it to 54 innings in the World Series, and the Cardinals still have only that one multiple run inning, the 9th in game 2. And this is the team that led the National League in hitting this season.
Led the National League in runs scored. Many offensive categories.
Stolen bases. Of course, Vince Coleman with 110 of them has been inactive.
And Landrum, the man who has replaced him with that great LCS, and then off to a great start in the World Series, and has been silent the last couple of nights and has something in his eye. And that's something that might be relatively commonplace tonight. I don't know if Tito wears contacts or not, but with the breeze blowing as it is, that lends itself to a little bit of dust, debris flying around, and it's prone to happen on a night like tonight.
It'd be interesting to me, we talked earlier in the World Series that they were basically pitching Landrum away, and all his hits were away. They've stayed inside.
Popped up. Bret calling for it. And Clark leads off with a single. And that's that. No score. And a 1.5.
Like a lot of people, I'm taking better care of my body. Better care of my skin, too. With Skin Bracer Aftershave. Shaving is rough, so I use Skin Bracer. It cools and smooths skin. Tightens pores. That's the tingle. Smells great, too. But Skin Bracer's not cologne. It's skin care that feels good. That's why more men are saying, thanks. I needed that.
Skin Bracer, also in spice, takes care of men who take care of their skin. Skin Bracer Aftershave.
By men.
Strength, pride, tradition. For centuries, the Clydesdales have been known as a special breed. Today, the Clydesdales symbolize Budweiser's dedication to quality, superior ingredients, exclusive beechwood aging, for a distinctively clean, crisp taste you find only in the king of beers. Dedication to quality. You know what it means, because it shows in everything you do. Quality taste, because this Bud's for you.
Hey, Nick!
You're missing the World Series. Come on.
Since when is the World Series more important than our stories?
Since about 1903.
The Insiders will return Wednesday.
This ABC Sports exclusive presentation of the 1985 World Series is being brought to you by the people at Merrill Lynch, whose resources and solutions make them a breed apart.
Bottom of the second, here is a John Tudor mini self-analysis.
I'm really a pretty mellow person. I don't get overly excited when I'm pitching, with the exception of from within. So I don't show my emotions on the mound. And for me to go out there and just take it as another ball game has been a lot easier for me, I think, because I'm that way. And that's what I have to try and do, because if, like I said, if I went out there thinking this is it, then I might panic and just go to trying to do things that I'm not capable of doing.
Can't imagine Tudor panicking after what we've seen over the last 4 months as he starts Sundberg with a strike, 0-1.
Well, you know, that's the first thing that I ever learned in spring training, going all the way back to 1964 in Thomasville, Georgia. Do not wear your emotions on your shirt sleeve. Do not let the opposition know what you're feeling. And it's a lot easier said than done. Let me believe. I mean, give up the home run, and
Sundberg hits a fly ball to center field, and that's been a busy area tonight. And that's the second put out for McGee. His counterpart Wilson has a trio, one away. Now Balboni, and the crowd exhorting Balboni. Steve thought of as having a terrible postseason, but still he averaged 286. He has 6 hits. The problem is all singles. But last night, a big single after Clark couldn't handle his foul pop. And he drills it to left, but it's hooking. And foul. Well foul. And back out of play. And the wind helping to push it even further back than it might have gone on another night. No balls and 1 strike to count. One and one. 36 homers and 88 RBIs during the regular season for this man. Change low, 2-1. Two and two the count.
That's one of the few times Tudor will give in to a hitter. He gave in to him with the hard fastball then, and he wanted to keep that ball away, but he got it right down the middle of the plate, and that ball was certainly hittable for Balboni.
Changes speeds, comes inside, and it's 3-2.
John Tudor's not totally, he's a lot like he was in the first ball game. He only gave up 1 run, but he wasn't razor sharp. He is all over the place with his control so far tonight.
That's outside. So Balboni is at first base and 1 out, and Motley is the batter. I think you said razor sharp because that's the way Tudor would say it with his accent.
In a stoic manner. Because he's from New England.
That's correct.
Hey, I know a lot of animated people from New England. Most of them used to boo me when I pitched in Fenway. And sometimes cheer me, especially when I gave up those long home runs.
Motley is the batter. 1-0 the count on Darrell. Buddy Biancalana on deck. And it's 2-0. Two and one the count. Last night we mentioned Herzog had said, as you see Balboni at first base, that Andujar was a long man, and he might have brought Daly in last night if he was needed early, and he wasn't the way Cox was going. Tonight, Campbell would be the likely long man, and the count goes to 3-1. He'd only start an inning, he says, with Andujar. He wouldn't bring him out of the pen, and the only time he would use Daly early would be in a situation where he couldn't afford to have the game broken open. But you really don't think about long men too much when you've got Tudor as your starter. That's fouled back, and the count goes to 3-2.
Dick Hauser's been very conservative in sending his runners in situations like this.
Well, we have now been wrong about 93% of the time. I say he is not going. What do you say?
Well, I think you send him, and the reason you send him is to stay out of a double play. The fact that Balboni can't run has nothing to do with it.
He is going just barely, though, on one of the worst breaks of all time, and it's fouled away. Balboni was going, but he was going about a second and a half after that pitch was fouled back.
Well, it's not the runner's responsibility to make contact. It's the hitter's responsibility to put the ball in play, or if it's not a good pitch, to take it. So you got to make sure the pitcher pitches, and with that in mind, you can break. It's almost like a squeeze play, breaking late from first base, as opposed to a squeeze when you break late from third.
3-2, and they throw over there. Balboni with about a two-step lead. What Clark is doing, as you can see, is playing just behind the bag, keeping Balboni as close as possible and then moving back as Tudor comes to the plate. And Motley drills it to deep left field, but hooking again, and that one is foul. And that one almost went over the top of the foul pole. That was so high.
Did go over the top of the foul pole, and that's one of the most difficult calls for an umpire to make. Well, hits this ball about as well as you can hit a ball. Looks like Carlton Fisk Jr.
Not the end result, though.
He was in his home run shuffle then, wasn't he?
Well, that was a no doubt about it. Just watch those.
3-2. The foul poles here, as Motley goes back, the foul poles are not that high, and he wants them to do bad, as you can see, and that one literally went over the top of the foul pole, or the top of the plane of the foul pole.
How can you hit a ball that far and that hard and not want the same bat?
Yeah, you wonder.
Here, he's changing bats. Sometimes you have a hairline fracture as you look at the foul pole in left field. As Al mentioned, that ball very high, but sometimes you have a hairline fracture in your bat and you discover it. I'll tell you, if you discover it after hitting the ball that far, you keep it.
Yeah, right. Clark going to the mound to talk about what he was going to do holding Balboni on. 3-2 with one out. Balboni is going, and the pitch is again drilled to left field, hooking down the line, and gone. Slow. Motley found the right bat.
Maybe that's his fair bat. His other one was his foul bat.
They want another curtain call. That's ripped right to third and right at Pendleton. 2 down.
Well, it said comically and tragically that experience is what helps you recognize a mistake when you make it again.
And John Tudor makes that same mistake again. After Motley had drilled one deep to left field. Foul. He hits this one fair. He knew that was fair. Man, he smoked that ball.
Saberhagen takes a strike, and the count is 0-1.
We talked going into this game that the reason that John Tudor is so successful is that he has a great changeup. He cannot get his changeup over tonight at all.
0-2 the count.
Again, sometimes when you do not have your full repertoire, you'll throw a fastball, which Motley hit foul, and then you don't have another pitch to go to. You kind of hope.
Check swing, appeal, gets the call at first base. Saberhagen can't believe it. Billy Williams said, "You're out of there." So the crowd boos, but the cheering will start in a moment when Motley moves to right.
Well, here's the changeup.
There goes Darryl, and there go the Royals into a 2-0 lead at the end of 2.
Predicting the future is never a sure thing, but some people have a way of hitting the mark. Consider Merrill Lynch. In '79, it was said stocks were dead. We said they weren't. Later, hardly anyone saw the dawn of a new bull market in bonds. We did. Last year, others said high inflation would be back. We said it wouldn't, and recommended investing in financial assets. We called it the way we saw it and ended up being right because of one key reason: our resources. They're unsurpassed by anyone.
Bob.
Hi, Tom.
I just saw your client out there.
Okay, thanks.
By the way, do you think he'll be surprised by your recommendation?
Well, he's a smart man, and he knows our track record.
To find out what Merrill Lynch is saying right now, call 1-900-210-1000. More resources, better solutions. Merrill Lynch people, a breed apart.
The enemy, potholes. When pavement cracks, it can tear your tires to shreds. Now consider Vector, Goodyear's unique all-season radial. Its crisscross tread has a backbone of belted steel to help repel road hazards and deliver thousands of miles of sure-footed performance. The Goodyear Vector. It simply performs like no other tire in the world.
Starting next Sunday, John Jake's epic of the American experience is now an unforgettable television event. North and South.
We talked about dreaming the dream as a child. And right now, that dream is a reality for Darryl Motley, who is the early hero. It's 2-0 Kansas City as we go to the third inning with Porter, Tudor, and Smith. 8-9-1 against Saberhagen, who has set down 6 of the 7 he's faced. 1-0 the count. Porter, who lives in the area, is staying at home during the World Series and is a former Royal. 2 for 12. Lifted to shallow left field, and Smith comes in to make the catch. 1 away. This program, an exclusive presentation of ABC Sports. A 5-second pause here to allow our local stations to identify themselves.
Channel 7 KBC TV, Los Angeles.
One out. Top of the third inning. Al Michaels with Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver in Kansas City. Game 7 of the World Series. Motley's 2-run homer has made it 2-0 Kansas City. And Tudor, the batter, tries to drag his way on and bunts into his own dugout. It's the 5th time in the 7 games that the Royals have scored first.
Jim, you get the idea when you look at the first 7 outs that 6 of them were fly balls and 1 was a strikeout. The Saberhagen has a pretty live fastball.
Well, the Cardinals, of course, faced Charlie Leibrandt in last night's game. Leibrandt retired the first 15 to face him until Cesar Cedeno singled in the 6th inning. Here's Charlie.
That is one man who does have the night off. 0-2 pitch. He tries to drag his way on again, and down he goes. Strikeout number 2 for Saberhagen. With 2 down and the base is empty, Ozzie Smith is the batter. Flied out of the first.
I know your point, Jim, is that with that high-riding fastball, the Cardinals, who do not have a lot of top-hand hitters, they have a lot of guys like Ozzie Smith, Willie McGee, Andy Van Slyke, Terry Pendleton, and it's tough for hitters of that ilk to handle high fastballs, except for Ozzie right there.
You know what? Smith, ever since the home run in the playoffs, and I don't think it's just my imagination, seems to be, shall we say, muscling up a little bit more. Even Herzog was talking about that last night. Swinging a little harder than normal. 1-1 the count.
What happens when a hitter who is not expected to hit a home run becomes enamored with his power. That could be one of the reasons he's 1 for 20.
Change there and had him bending over. And the count 2-1.
Well, it kind of goes to basic pitching philosophy. When a hitter knows that you're throwing hard, he tries to get out in front. And when he gets out in front, like Ozzie Smith did on the first pitch, becomes more susceptible to the breaking ball, the changeup, the curveball.
Grounded down to White. And Saberhagen has retired 9 of the first 10. We play 2.5. 2-0 KC.
This Halloween, don't just ask for a light beer.
Bartender, please, give me a light. No, Bud Light.
Bud Light. Because everything else is just a light.
Now, how about it by 2?
Make this Halloween a Bud Light Fright Night. Look for this display with free poster and special mug offer at participating retailers.
Me, I'm an accountant.
Competition is what makes American business go. Competition is what makes American business excel. Competition is what gives meaning to success. Competition is what drives Hilton to be America's business address.
For a limited time, Wendy's breakfast is yours for a song.
Only Wendy's.
Wendy's French toast is now 99 cents.
Only Wendy's.
99 cents for a scrambled egg platter, too.
Only Wendy's and Wendy's alone.
Our breakfast sandwich, 99 cents. Wendy's breakfast, yours for a song.
For only you.
Tuesday.
Pretty dress.
Well, thank you. Hi, Wally.
Angela's date falls for Mona.
What a great sweater.
Who's the Boss returns Tuesday.
This ABC Sports exclusive presentation of the 1985 World Series is being brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light.
Going to the bottom of the third inning. That's very interesting right there. We talked about 28 seventh games having been played, and the road teams in the past have won 17 of them. So there have been a lot of quiet celebrations in games 7. 1-0 the count on Lonnie Smith. Good breaking pitch, 1-1. I can't imagine there's too much left for a celebration tonight in Kansas City, but I'm sure there'll be one if the Royals win. There was a celebration last night as if the Royals had already won the World Series after that dramatic Game 6 victory. Horns honking until at least 3 in the morning. 2-1. We can definitely bear personal witness to that.
You're on your way to breakfast about that hour.
Right. 3-1 the count.
An interesting thing about John Tudor, he talked about keeping the game within himself, but notice the facial expressions when he does not get the ball where he wants to.
Starts the third inning with a walk, and you're exactly right in the sense that Tudor, who does not normally express his emotions. All of a sudden, you can see the grimacing and the facial contortions. And it's 2-0 Kansas City with a man at first and nobody out in the third.
If I was pitcher against Bret Saberhagen tonight and I was John Tudor, I would get the message, and I've already gotten it, that I cannot afford to give up too many more runs and still be in this game.
Especially the way the Cardinals have been hitting in this series. Wilson lifts it in the air to right field and toward the line, and it's playable for Van Slyke in foul territory. Andy taking a couple of looks, and he had a lot of room, and makes the play. So Wilson, who loves to go after that first pitch, does it again. 1 out. Tudor facing Bret here. Walked only 1.6 batters per 9 innings this season. So right off the bat tonight, he has already walked more than he normally walks in a 9-inning game. He walked Balboni prior to Motley's home run, and now Smith to lead things off in the third.
Something I wonder about, Tudor pitched 273 innings this year. The most he ever pitched before was 242. He's pitched in 4 postseason games, extra game in the playoffs, also having to pitch 3 times in the World Series. I mean, he's pitched almost 50 innings more than he's ever pitched in his life.
You really think that has anything to do with the 7th game of the series, though? And can't you gear it up one more time?
Well, it's easy to say, and I think emotionally you'd like to think that, but he stopped throwing between starts because he said he's just a little bit more tired than he's ever been before.
Outside.
It all goes back to what you were talking about before, trying to be loose. It's great to say, hey, this is just another game, but if your arm's a little bit tired, you become a thrower instead of a pitcher, and this is a man right here that cannot be anything but a pitcher. He's not overpowering like Saberhagen.
And I would think because of that, Jim, he wouldn't be nearly as affected by pitching too many innings as a power pitcher would. He's a guy who relies on pinpoint control, but he hasn't had it tonight, and he is working on 3 days rest. And again, John Tudor is a guy who would be less affected working on 3 days rest than, say, a Bret Saberhagen. I would think.
We had that graphic, and it went into the past tense about not walking batters. It said had not walked the leadoff batter in 127 consecutive innings, and what that means is that's 14 games worth where he had not dug a hole for himself at the outset of an inning by walking a man anyway. He had Smith going back that time as he delivered, and the count is 1-1.
Sometimes walking a hitter is not the worst way you can be wild. Darryl Motley had a good cut at a 3-1 pitch and then the 3-2 pitch. Sometimes you're better off walking hitters. Certainly, I'm sure that's the way John feels about Motley now.
Smith goes, and Bret unintentionally grounds it to the left of Tudor, and no play.
A pitch that Bret really doesn't want to swing at. Excuse me. He's off to the races. Tudor doesn't come up with the play. Pendleton goes by it. No play anyway. That's definitely a base hit.
Bret is now 2 for 2, and the batter is White, who flied out in the first inning.
John Tudor really has to be alert with Lonnie Smith on second base. His outstanding speed, and he is a go-for-the-throat type of player. And they're in that position right now.
Hit down the line, hooking and going foul. And the count is 0-1.
If you're a base runner at second base, your ideal time to steal third is with 1 out. Because you're willing to take more chances to steal third with 1 out, because if you're over there with 1 out, you can score on something other than a base hit. That's the theory behind it.
Bill Campbell is up in the bullpen. the way, and the count is 0-2. You don't wait around in Game 7. Campbell throwing, third inning. Two on, one out. Third inning, 2-0 KC. Half swing foul, still 0-2. Smith, the runner at second, and Bret at first, one out. The crowd will always chorus balk. It will never be called. The runners pitch outside. Porter's throw. Great play by Pendleton to the runners to save. But Pendleton saved a run and maybe another.
A lot of times with the runner stealing in a double steal situation, you're better off to try to get the tail runner. With the right-handed hitter up, you have the impediment of the hitter. You have to throw over it. Lonnie Smith in there easily. An added point to that is the trail runner never gets as good a jump as the lead runner because he has to make sure that the lead runner steals third base. The play to second would have been the best play and the safer play, and more of a straight throw to second because you don't have the right-handed hitter to throw over.
The infield comes in now. They cannot afford to give up a run on the ground ball. Ball 3. On deck is Sundberg. The worst thing in the world for Tudor right now to walk White because Sundberg is prone to hitting ground balls, and that might get you out of the inning.
Well, he'll either make his pitch, or as you said, go for the walk. Does set up a double play.
Still 3-2.
The fact that the Cardinals are playing the infield in, or at least halfway, indicates that manager Whitey Herzog realizes they haven't been scoring a lot of runs. When you play in, it enhances the ability of the hitter to hit the ball by you. If that happens, it's going to be 4-0.
Sundberg coming to the plate.
It's a difficult decision, Al, but here you have a guy on the mound that's won 24 games for you.
That's Whitey Herzog screaming at Don Dinkinger, and I think it was the 3-1 pitch to Lonnie Smith that he's talking about. You remember, Dinkinger called it low. It was Dinkinger last night at first base who missed the play at first base, and Whitey Herzog and the Cardinals thought that that was a big play, and they thought that they should be celebrating in St. Louis tonight. A big play when Orta was called safe leading off the ninth.
Infield double play depth, that's a strike. Dinkinger is no stranger to watching Tudor pitch when John was in the American League, and in fact just last week Dinkinger was back at the plate in Game 1 when Tudor pitched. 0-1 the count. 1-1. Only the umpire who starts game 1 can also umpire again in the World Series, as is the case in game 7 because of the rotation of the 6. They move around every night, and back they come to their original order tonight. 2-1. Breeze has really picked up. It's whipping around the stadium now. Fouled back, and the count is 2 balls and 2 strikes. So the bases are loaded with Lonnie Smith at third, George Bret at second, Frank White at first. 1 out in the bottom of the 3rd inning. 2-0 Royals.
Total contrast to the game that Tudor pitched the other night. He was in command of the entire game with the exception of the 7th inning when he got McRae to ground out with 2 strikes, 2 outs, excuse me.
Saved by Porter. 3-2 the count now.
I was saying before, Whitey Herzog, 7th game of a World Series. You see a guy that won 24 games, 11 shutouts. You still have to make a decision that's going to allow your team to win. Tudor does not have command of any of his stuff tonight. We're looking at a big inning.
As was occasion, Philadelphia a couple of years ago when they hooted Bert Hooton off the mound in a playoff game. The crowd is trying to induce a walk. And they get one. Herzog making a very uncommon visit to the mound. It's been a long time since he's gone out to see Tudor in the 3rd.
Three and 2, bases loaded. Watch his reaction.
So Sundberg walks, 4 walks, and to the bullpen they go. And so Campbell comes in. Tudor this season, in a remarkable year, had walked as many as 4 in a game, only twice, and never more than 4. And the earliest KO since the 22nd of April. It's 3-0 Royals, and they're still going.
If you visited all the places some nationwide long-distance companies don't serve, you'd be on the road a long time. There are a lot of services you take for granted with AT&T that most companies don't have, like calling from anywhere to anywhere, operator service, and immediate credit for wrong numbers. Looks like most companies still have a long way to go to measure up to AT&T. The more you hear, the better we sound. AT&T, the right choice.
Hello. With winter setting in, some people are worried about drinking a wine cooler when they are a whole lot cooler than they'd like to be already. So Ed got himself a cooler warmer and has developed a warmer cooler. This is simply Bartles and James heated up along with a cinnamon stick. So if you live in Minnesota or Antarctica or someplace like that, stock up on Bartles and James. It is not only the best cooler cool, but also the perfect cooler for those who prefer a cooler warmer. Thank you for your support.
Tuesday, the 2 shows the critics are raving about are now back-to-back.
It's the only way to fly.
If you love Maddie and Dave on Moonlighting,
I like to look at naked women.
I'm sure you do.
you'll love the people on Spencer for Hire.
I've never been to bed with a celebrity.
What's the world coming to? Could be the coming thing.
The New York Times calls Robert Urich the perfect television star in Spencer for Hire, right after the perfect romantic comedy, Moonlighting, all starting at 9, 8 Central and Mountain, Tuesday.
On this bases loaded walk to Sundberg. Check out the reaction of Bret at second base. Ball 4 delivered there. Tudor, and here's now the reaction of George Bret. Another run is over.
Well, it's a gift. It's the only way you can describe it. It just doesn't happen very often from a pitcher of that quality.
Campbell has to keep in the game. Balboni, the batter. Campbell came in and struck Frank White out the other night with the bases loaded early in the game with the score 4-1 in St. Louis. Infield, double play deck. Popped up on the first pitch and foul ground and drifting back out of play. 0-1 the count. Balboni and then Motley. Motley's home run in the second inning made it 2-0. 3 walks and a check swing single by Bret that made it 3-0 in the third. Backhanded by Porter and the count 1-1. Bases loaded, Bret at third, White at second, and Sundberg at first.
This is what relief pitching's all about. Coming in, you haven't had a chance maybe to really get loose. You don't know what the mound's like, and you got to face Steve Balboni, 36 home runs with the bases loaded. He's good in one respect. He strikes out a lot, and he is a double play man. You think about those 36 home runs.
That's grounded into left field for a base hit. Bret scores. Up comes Landrum with the throw. Too late, and it's 5-0.
Unfortunately for the Cardinals, this is what hitting's all about, too. A 2-1 count and a fastball. You can sit on a fastball, and if you don't get it, you're in a position to take it. A hitter's delight. Royals up 5-0. What a remarkable ball club this Kansas City Royal club is. They were down 3-1 against Toronto. They came back and beat them. They were down 3-1 against the Cardinals, and they have won 2 and ahead 5-0 in this one. Mercy.
This is the 6th time they have been forced to save match point, and they lead 5-0. Motley, strike, 0-1. Funny in a way about Balboni, he's really not having a good series, and yet he's had a couple of singles at very critical and key points. 7 hits, all singles. In fact, Balboni's average for the World Series is now over 300. Little squibber to the right side. Clark will make the play at first base, and the runners advance. And Biancalana will come up with runners at second and third. Open and Saberhagen on deck. And Buddy Biancalana has not drawn many intentional walks.
Not in the American League with the DH.
Saberhagen will be the 9th man to hit in the inning. Cardinal bullpen active again. And with everybody at the ready tonight, Bob Forsch and Ricky Horton are the men who are throwing. Horton is the left-hander. Gorsh, the starter in Game 5, and Rocket early.
American League pitchers 0 for 46. Going all the way back to 1979, Tim Stoddard against the Pirates in Pittsburgh. High chopper in the left field.
And this proves once again that a lot of times it's not that you win, but how you win. The Royals winning last night with that dramatic 2-1 win on the pinch hit by Dane Orge. And they've carried that excitement right into this ball game.
So the Cardinals, who were 2 outs away from the world title last night, are now at least 6 runs away. At least. Fouled away, and the count 1-1. Blum and Somber. The same bench that was on the verge of exhilaration last night. Lanier was the man fronting Herzog. Good breaking pitch, and the count is 1-2. To nothing Kansas City with the bases loaded and 2 out, bottom of the 3rd inning. Two and two.
Saberhagen impressed me with the bat in St. Louis.
He had 372 his high school senior year at Cleveland High in Reseda. Some athlete.
Little squibber, and they let it roll, and it goes foul. Still 2 and 2. I can't believe it. Every time I look at Saberhagen, you can't be 21 years old, 3 years out of high school, and go about it the way he has gone about it the last 2 weeks.
Well, he's the youngest pitcher to ever pitch the 7th game in a World Series. He's also the youngest pitcher ever to start 2 games.
By the way, and we've all watched him on television now, but he's a great kid. He really is. Very friendly and poised and polite. Fun-loving kid. Down he goes. Well, he can't do everything. But his mates have staked him to a 5-0 lead as we go to the
4th. Isn't he in bed yet?
I tried,
My throat hurts.
New Children's Sucrets will help.
Doctors recommend Sucrets improve with diclonine for longer-lasting temporary relief of minor sore throat pain.
I feel better.
New longer-lasting Children's Sucrets.
Wake up! If you don't graduate, we're through.
I'm bust.
Here, revive with Vivarin.
Vivarin?
Helps wake you up.
Government-appointed experts say it's safe, effective.
Revive with Vivarin.
Morning is your time. The earth wakes up with you. You always feel that spark of life in everything you do.
Grape nuts. For you, it's as natural as the morning. No sugar added, no preservatives. Just an honest, nutty crunch. Post Grape Nuts cereal. You know when you've got it good.
Yes, you know when you've got it good.
This Bud's for everyone who puts the roads on the map.
This Bud's for you.
Yeah, just for you. That distinctively clean, crisp taste that says Budweiser.
For all you do, for you.
Right now, there are more Americans facing trial for espionage than at any time since World War II. What secrets have the Soviets learned? Monday on World News Tonight.
21-year-old Bret Saberhagen, I had this visit with him yesterday. Will the success you've had in postseason to this point be an important factor in making you perhaps more calm than you otherwise might be?
I think I'll be a little bit more calm because I've been in a few games. If it was the first game or the 7th game of the World Series, I think I'd be really nervous. I'll be nervous up until probably the 1st, 2nd pitch of the game, and hopefully I can calm things down and go out there and do what I have to do.
And what he has to do right now is just protect this lead, and it's a big one. In fact, the way the Cardinals have been going, it is a huge one. 5-0. With Willie McGee to lead off in the 4th inning by grounding it down to White at second base. And he gets him. And so only one Cardinal has reached tonight, Clark, in the 2nd inning. Scoring summary for late tuners in. In the 2nd inning, Balboni a walk and Motley a booming home run to left. 2-0 KC. Then Smith with the walk. Bret a base hit, the double steal. White's walk loading him. Sundberg drew the walk to force in a run, and a 2-run ground single to left by Balboni. As they bat around in the inning, knock Tudor out, lead 5-0, and with 1 out in the top of the 4th inning, Tommy Herr is the batter. 1-0. Tommy Herr having a quiet series, 4 for 23 after a good season. A terrific first half of the year. I asked Whitey Herzog yesterday, who's the smartest player you've ever managed, baseball smart? And he said Herr. In the air to left center field. Lonnie Smith taking care of this one. 2 down. Jack Clark will be the batter. Notre Dame bombing SC yesterday against Navy. Heading our slate of college football Saturday, Navy over Pittsburgh yesterday, and Florida State taking on Miami, 3 Eastern Saturday. Clark with his 2nd inning single. Tries to bunt his way on again, and it's fouled to the plate. And we mentioned last night an odd series, and I guess indicative of this series, that the cleanup hitters have tried to bunt so much, and also so indicative of this series up until tonight anyway. All 3 runs last night were scored on broken bat hits.
Neither side, as a matter of fact, put the fat part of the bat on the ball too often, and that's really been the story of this series. Pitching has dominated, and I mean completely dominated every game in this series.
In one way or the other.
Yeah,
you go back, and again, going in, now we've had 14 pitchers start, with the exception of Bob Forsch, who pitched poorly, and Andujar, and John Tudor, who was off his game tonight. Everybody has pitched well.
That's fouled back. Look out.
Don't be bailing in front of me.
Listen, not going to get hurt in the last game of the season, I'll tell you that. If you're going to go on the DL, you do it early when you get paid for it. And you're a catcher. Come on.
I was gone. See you later.
You look like Euchre on that one. 2-2 the count.
Like a left-handed side armor was out there. I was gone. Bailing out.
7-game series, lowest batting average. Brooklyn and Minnesota in 1965 at 195. The Cardinals coming into tonight's game were at 190, and right now they're 1 for 12, so they're under that. 2-2 the count. Grounded to short. Biancalana makes it another perfect inning. 12 of 13 set down by Saberhagen. 5-7.
There's a style in your life no one could ever deny. You're on your way to the top, and along the way you've always known just who you are. Where you're going, you've always known it. Where you're going, it's make-a-love.
Where you're going, it's exceptionally smooth Michelob.
Where you're going, when it's Michelob.
Just when you thought you'd missed out on low finance rates, Chevrolet announces new low 8.8% financing on some of our most popular new Chevys with manual transmissions. Save up to $1,070 in finance charges on Chevy Cavalier, $1,570 on Chevy Camaro, $910 on Chevy Chevette. This is a limited time offer, so hurry. Get low 8.8% financing. You can save on finance charges through November 20th. See your Chevy dealer now.
All right, children. Who's going to be the first one to recite the alphabet? How about you, Ann?
A, B, C, D, E, F, E, F, E, F, Hutton. When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen.
The Los Angeles Raiders, when it comes to playing on Monday nights, they have no equal. They'll battle the San Diego Chargers live at 9 Eastern, Monday on ABC.
This ABC Sports exclusive presentation of the 1985 World Series is being brought to you by exceptionally smooth Michelob. Where you're going, it's Michelob.
Royal Stadium, bottom of the 4th inning, and Lonnie Smith starts things by grounding it foul. 5-0. The Fat Lady can sing. Well, Fat Lady is only 5 innings away from singing right now, or 5 more at-bats for the Cardinals. 5 runs, 4 hits for the Royals. No runs, 1 hit for the Cards. Campbell, who loves to work out of the stretch at all times, hits it in the air to right field and right to Van Slyke, and he makes the catch as the ball started to peel on him.
Lonnie Smith's steal of third base in the 3rd inning was really one of the keys that set up that 3rd inning, because that made Tudor pitch around Frank White, and then he eventually lost Sundberg on that 3-2 walk. And then Campbell came in and served up the 2 RBI single to Balboni. So the steal of third base, as we semi-predicted, was kind of a big play.
Wilson takes a strike. Also, I mentioned, and I think you were there, Tim, in 1977 in the playoffs, when the crowd at Philadelphia went so crazy that Bert Hooton really, in essence, lost his composure and his control and everything else, and the Phillies beat the Dodgers that day.
Well, as a matter of fact, it was the games were tied 1 apiece, and that was the best 3 out of 5 series, of course. And Bert Hooton did start that game, but if you remember, that was the game, and we'll explain it after this pitch. That was the game where the Phillies had a 2-run lead in the top of the 9th inning with 2 out and nobody on. Vic Davalillo bunted, and Manny Mota hit a ball over the outstretched glove of Greg Luzinski, who was still in there. And then Davey Lope single, and Bill Russell drove him in.
That's a base hit for Wilson in the center field. And Bret will come up.
The same crowd that had risen to their feet to have Bert Hooton lead the game was in deathly silence 10 minutes after the game as Wilson spokes that fastball to left center.
That was exactly what I thought of when Sundberg was at the plate, and all of a sudden, as one, the crowd just rose, screaming and chanting, and Tudor walked Sundberg. Bret with 2 singles, 1 clean, 1 on a check swing.
Well, as a former pitcher, I don't want you to think that the only reason that Tudor walked Sundberg is because the fans are up on their feet. He did not have command of his pitches tonight. It can affect you. I don't want to diminish that. But there's nothing more frustrating than being out on the mound in a big game or even a regular season ball game and not be able to do what you want to do. And that was strictly the case tonight. I think John Tudor said it very well. He said a lot of times you're judged by one big game. The John Tudor we saw tonight is not the John Tudor that pitched for the Cardinals all year.
Not remotely. 0-1 the count. Wilson had 43 steals and was caught 11 times this season. Bret chasing it, and the count is 0-2. And that wind is really whipping the flags now.
Tell you, Al, that stunning defeat of the Dodgers back in '77 in the playoff series And the last time the Cardinals were up 3-1 and the Detroit Tigers came back and beat the Cardinals, I was a member of that club, and those were two of the most well, they're not two of the most, they were the two most disappointing things that happened to me in my career. And they haunt you. They stay with you forever. I haven't forgotten it, the series, and it's been 17 years since that happened.
Wilson goes. Bret lines it to left field for a base hit. Wilson stopping at second base as the throw comes in. Willie was going a little hesitation just as he approached second base to see if the ball might be caught or not. Took him just that extra split second to pick up the angle.
Well, hit and run, and again, Bret with 3 hits tonight just goes the other way. He can hit home runs. He can hit the ball to left. Wilson looking and running on the pitch.
He was going to steal second, and when you're going in a straight line to steal second, you realize that in order to get to third, your turn's too big. And Willie realized that, and that's the reason he didn't go to third base.
Frank White. One and oh the count.
And of course he remembers the throw that Landrum in left field made in Game 2. Don't want to run yourself out of an inning when you already have a 5-0 lead.
Wilson's going. It's a strike. No throw. Huge jump. Not the double steal. Willie moving on his own. Wide, we'll take a look at this one.
We talked about the trail runner the last time Lonnie Smith stole third with Bret on first. Bret didn't have a good jump, and he allowed Willie Wilson to steal third uncontested. From that angle, you really saw the jump that Willie Wilson had. No chance for Porter to even make the throw.
Infield a double play depth, and the 1-1 pitch is ripped on a hop to Pendleton. He goes to second one and back to first. And Terry Pendleton has really shown us all what he could do defensively over the last fortnight. To the fifth we go, 5-0 Royals.
Smile, boys. Look at this dang picture. We got bad developing again, boys. My hat ain't even white.
Well, I always said she was yellow.
Oh, that's funny coming from a greenhorn on a green horse.
The horse is green.
Why, you are now, boys. Should have used that new Kodak color watch system. Could have had a great picture then. Try it again.
Look for the Color Watch seal where you get your film developed for bright, vivid color prints time after time. And if you don't see that sign, keep on riding.
Well, there were 3 nevers in comedy. Never follow a better comedian. Never give a heckler the last word. And no matter how bad a joke bombs, although it's never happened to me personally, never let him see you sweat.
That's what Dry Idea is all about. Less water, more wetness protection. It keeps you drier than the leading roll-on.
In comedy, being nervous is natural. Looking nervous is deadly.
Dry Idea. Never let them see you sweat.
We have to talk about this. I think you need variety in your menu. So I have kibbles. Oh, dear doggy, this is new Purina Kibbles and Chunks. Kibbles taste better when they come with chunks. Crunchy kibbles. Chewy chunks. Yum.
New Purina brand Kibbles and Chunks dog food. 2 kinds of crunchy kibbles taste better with 2 chewy chunks.
What do you say? Purina Kibbles and Chunks? Better with chunks? Better with chunks.
When it's icy cold and the wires are down and they're spitting sparks all over the ground, you gotta go. Can't fool around. That's why America goes with Prestone.
A fresh fill of Prestone 2 antifreeze fights freeze-up and rust-up, too. A radiator could look this bad after just 10,000 miles of driving on weak, neglected antifreeze, while the Prestone radiator looks this good. Get the Prestone difference.
America goes and goes and goes with Prestone.
This is how you stay in the game down 5 runs. Pendleton with a great play. Her with a relay. Boy, he doesn't make that play. They're right out of this ball game.
Fifth inning, 5-0 KC as Van Slyke takes inside. Andy is 0 for 8 in the series. Saberhagen has pitched to 13 batters and retired 12. To center field, but right to Wilson. Did it pretty well, one away. Now Pendleton comes up. Funny, the Coleman factor. You start thinking about the Coleman factor. Nobody was thinking about it when the Cardinals had won 3 of 4, when they were down to the Dodgers and came roaring back to beat them. But what it did to the lineup, taking him out of the 1 spot, and there is Vince, has made a lot of difference. To left, to Smith. 2 out. Landrum coming up tomorrow night. Battle in the AFC West on Monday Night Football, 9 Eastern time. You'll watch the Chargers take on the Los Angeles Raiders. Monday Night Football. 2 down, and Landrum is the batter, and it's outside ball 1. 1-0.
It really goes back to what batting coach Johnny Lewis of the Cardinals said. Not only, he said, we were spinning our wheels, weren't going anywhere, made us more aggressive, gave us a better attitude, made our hitters better. Not to mention the 110 stolen bases. That's like having 110 doubles. Not to mention the 20 legitimate doubles. And then you talk about his ability to steal third base.
And as you said, Al, everybody forgot about Coleman because Landrum was playing such good ball.
Base hit into left field as Landrum picks up the Cardinals' second hit. And Andujar is in the bullpen as the Cardinals get down toward the bottom of the order. And how the fates and fortunes can swing around so quickly. Joaquin Andujar, early in the year, on his way to maybe a Cy Young Award, pitching as well as Gooden early on. And here he is now as the long man, as the mop-up man, in effect, even though there's no such thing as mopping up in the World Series, but that's the role he's playing tonight. Throwing in the pen if they get down to the pitcher's spot. Porter the batter with 2 down. 0-1.
That's great news for the National League hitters. I read a little blurb in the paper that, I mean, last year Dwight was, what, 17-8 or whatever, and he said he went down and worked on his pickoff move. This year he's going to go down and work on a slower curveball and a changeup. He's only 24-4 on the year. It's got to brighten your day if you pick up the paper and start reading it.
Mike Jorgensen is out on deck if the inning stays alive. He'd hit for Campbell. 2 down. Landrum at first base. Fly ball to center. And Wilson will put this one away to retire the side. We'll be back in Kansas City after this from our local station.
The North, a beacon for industry and progress. The South, steeped in a proud tradition of honor.
It's no small thing for a man to have a son at West Point.
A nation divided by 2 different ways of life. And 2 friends bound by loyalty but separated by heritage.
Ori, no! Don't ever interfere with us again, or ask me to go against my own kind.
John Jake's unforgettable saga, North and South, starting 1 week from tonight.
Great burgers of Coco's claim to fame. Making famous burgers is how we made our name. Ah, Coco's. When Coco serves you chicken, we really do it right. Coco's teriyaki chicken. Ah. Wouldn't you like a bite? Wouldn't you like a bite?
For crisp golden shrimp, try our awesome shrimp dinner, now only $5.95. Wouldn't you like a bite?
Ah, Coco's. There's a fresh new effervescence, a pure and simple way to feel. Never ever artificial, always clear and always real. Never fake it, let it be. Just drink it in naturally. It's a natural thirst for life. New Sun-Kissed Natural. Sun-Kissed Natural thirst in life.
Coming up after the movie, the countdown is underway for the big spin. Mark Coogan takes a look at the real winners in the game. And Tommy Lasorda joins Ted Dawson with a look at the World Series winner after the movie.
Tommy Lasorda series analysis after the movie.
Art Spander of the San Francisco Examiner reminded me that there have been 437 plate appearances in this World Series with 3 homers going into tonight's game. Reggie Jackson hit 3 on 3 swings in 1977. What do you think, Mr. October?
I guess it goes to show you that you don't need home runs to win a ball game or to score a lot of runs. The time that the Royals got the 3 runs, they only put 2 hits on the board, Al, and one of those hits was an infield hit, so the Royals are continuing to get the breaks that they got last night. You know, you guys were talking before the game about the demeanor of John Tudor and his attitude and the fact that he was a little bit nervous and the fact that he was wondering if his season would go down the drain if he had a bad ball game tonight. That's an attitude that you can't take to the mound. It's one that you just can't impress upon your teammates, because you may even make them tense. You got to go out on the mound and just give what it takes. Don't give me 100%. Give me what it takes. The Kansas City Royals have done that tonight.
And Sundberg starts the bottom of the 5th inning with a single to right field.
I refuse to believe that the Cardinals are going to die tonight with just 2 hits. I'm still waiting to hear from them.
And they are overdue.
Sundberg is a good opposite field hitter. Campbell gets the ball up, shoots it into right. Again, and it's another perfect example of, in a big ballpark, which is what we have here in Kansas City, as we see Whitey Herzog not only going out to the mound, possibly going to the bullpen, what you have to do.
And he's going to bring a relief pitcher in. Jeff Lottie, who had gotten up. Andujar had been working, and Lottie will now come in to pitch here to face Balboni in the 5th inning, 5-0 Kansas City.
IBM presents You Make the Call. A batter hits a foul pop that a fielder attempts to catch near the stands, but before he does, a fan reaches out and takes the ball. Is the batter out? You make the call.
If you're waiting to buy a personal computer, you may have questions about power, expandability, and dollars and cents. For the complete answer, take a close look at IBM. An IBM PC runs thousands of programs, expands easily, and prices are better than ever. So don't wait. Once you take the first step, the rest come easy. IBM personal computers.
Because the fan reached onto the field and clearly prevented the fielder from catching the ball, it's fan interference, and the batter is out. If you said so, then you made the right call.
Barbecues and cowboy shoes, guitars and high gear. Now you're talking country, now you're talking beer. Now you're talking good times, and Stroh's are spoken here.
Stroh's, fire brewed for smooth, consistent taste.
Now you're talking Stroh's, now you're talking beer. Now you're talking good times, and Stroh's are spoken here.
Wednesday, we are going after cops. Bad cops.
Some flight gets hot and some sweat when the heat is on.
The Insiders return.
You'll love it. Some feel good.
5-0 Kansas City in Game 7, bottom half of the 5th inning. And Balboni comes up to face Lottie. And Lottie is in the game because Herzog just can't afford to get any further down. You've got to go to one of your top guys here. Swing and a miss. He has Andujar in the bullpen. He also did not make the double switch, meaning that Lottie will just pitch this 1 inning. They'll use a pinch hitter, and then he'll worry about it. It would probably be Andujar if it stayed 5-0. If it got to be 5-3, let's say, you'd see Worrell and Daly up there again. Up high, and the count 1-1.
Well, Lottie led all National League relievers in ground ball double plays. 19 saves out of 22 possibilities, so he's the type of guy that can do the job for you. And as you said, Al, you just can't afford to get any farther behind Tudor and staff.
Saberhagen and staff if need be, but that doesn't seem to be the case so far.
And Lottie induces double plays. And he's got a pretty good contender for that dubious honor at the plate right now. That's grounded, goes to the hole, and Balbone's ground balls keep finding the holes.
Well, one of the reasons Balbone's ground balls keep finding the holes because he hits them real hard.
I don't think anybody in the Kansas City Royal organization cares whether Steve Balbone has not had an extra base hit in postseason play. Perfectly content with those singles that he has been hitting, timely singles. His last one drove in 2, and this one makes the threat come alive here in the 5th.
Now Motley at the plate, first and second, and nobody out. Trying to crank up another one.
In a situation that most likely we will not see the bunt because they'll walk Biancalana. It brings up Saberhagen with 1 out. Unless you're thinking squeeze, and he's probably never had to do that before. It didn't squeeze in high school. What did he hit? 372?
Yeah, you don't bunt to bunt again. You don't bunt runners over to bunt again. If you're going to bunt them over, you want to bunt to have somebody drive them in, not bunt them in.
1-1 the count. Pass. I'm sitting here laughing to myself, thinking about Balbone. He's been called everything in this series, including a big stiff. And Steve can laugh at you and you say, hey, you know what, folks? I'm hitting 348.
Right.
He's 8 for 23. There it is. 1-2 with nobody out. Sundberg at second, Balbone at first. 5-0 Kansas City. And it's fouled away. Crowd has settled back into what you might call right now a very comfortable posture. Exuberance early on and a lot of cheering, and I'm sure already a lot of hoarseness. But there's the anticipation of what the rest of the night will bring. Ripped into right center for a base hit. That will score Sundberg. Balbone stops at second. 6 hit.
Successful, he has to be down in the strike zone. Up in the strike zone. Hare can't get it. And Slyke quickly enough to hold the runner at second. But Sundberg scores.
Now Biancalana. Still nobody out. Buddy, buddy. Everybody's name being chanted. Half swing, and he came around. 0-1.
The crowd here really has reason to be excited because from a sports standpoint, these fine fans here in Kansas City really have never had anything except the Super Bowl champion. And that was back in 1970 when Lenny Dawson and company beat the Minnesota Vikings in the 70 Super Bowl.
Hank Stram was the coach. 0-2 the count. Up high. This is a franchise, just to refresh you if you're not that familiar with recent history. Kansas City had the A's, but they moved to Oakland, and the Royals were born in 1969. They came into the American League the same year the Seattle Pilots came in, and that team is now the Milwaukee Brewers. And Biancalana goes down swinging, so this is a team that's been around for only a decade and a half as Saberhagen comes to the plate. And the Chiefs through the years have had a decent share of success. They had a hockey team, but they left town. They had a basketball team, but they left town for Sacramento. It's the second time the Royals have been in the World Series. They lost in 1980, and now they're on the verge of winning this one. As Saberhagen grounds to Clark, he goes to second, one back to first, not in time there. As they try to get the double play, Clark going down to Ozzie Smith, and back too late to first.
Well, the bunt's too hard. One of the big adaptations that Clark had to make coming from right field is throwing. Perfect throw. We talked about Saberhagen's ability as an athlete. Hustles all the way and stays out of the double play. One of those plays as a pitcher, if you stop and watch it, the inning's over.
Lonnie Smith comes up already for the fourth time. We're in the fifth inning, and Smith is making his fourth plate appearance. 1-0 the count. Balboni at third. Saberhagen at first. And for the first time in the World Series, the pitcher really does need a jacket on the bases. It's chilly. 1-1. It may be chilly, but to this crowd, it's a balmy 75 right now. 1-2. Looking at Hauser, we told the story the other night, not Steinbrenner's kind of guy, kind of a mutual departure. But what a perfect fit for this franchise and this team. Perfect.
It's amazing how his ball club mirrors his emotions, too.
2-2 the count. And the whole front office here is basically that way. From Joe Burke to John Sherholz to Herc Robinson to Dean Vogelar and all the way down the line. There's been great consistency. And a lot of things have been underplayed and understated here, but they have done their job so inordinately well. Fouled away, and tonight they're looking for the grand prize, and they're not very far from it.
One of the marks of a player, a team, and an organization is if they can keep the same face, even in the face of adversity. Down 3-1, they were the same people throughout.
Hit by Pendleton. Balboni will come in to score. Saberhagen being waved toward third. Ferraro's going to send Bret to the plate. Ozzie Smith takes the relay. His throw. It's by Porter, backed up by Lottie. 8-0.
Fastball smoked down the line. Pendleton with a diving effort. One of the toughest walls to play in the American League. If it gets by, it can be an inside to Parker. Strong throw from Landrum. You see again Saberhagen running all the way. Heads up play by Laddie.
It is 8-0. It's a double, 2 RBIs, third on the throw, a swing and a miss, and it's 0-1. Chopper toward the middle, backhanded by Hurry. He's got to hurry. No, 9-0. berserk again.
Today, Chevrolet is merging a world of ideas for you.
It's coming now to the USA.
The fun awaits for you today.
Come and be a part of it all.
Today, Chevrolet is like an international auto show. Japanese and American-built small cars, wagons, hatchbacks, convertibles, 3-, 4-, or 6-cylinder power. Nobody nowhere has more kinds of small cars than your Chevy dealer's international auto show.
Drive today, Chevy. Live today, Chevy. Chevy.
Hey, you say you're getting tired of lettuce and tomato hamburgers that don't quite make it? Yeah! Then look at McDonald's new McDLT. I'm talking quarter pound of beef on the hot, hot side. The new McDLT. Hot, hot. Crisp lettuce and tomato on the cool, cool side. The new McDLT. Cool crisp. The beef stays hot. The cool stays crisp. Put it together, you can't resist. Could be the best lettuce and tomato hamburger ever.
It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's new McDLT.
This commercial is recorded in stereo. Does your TV have what it takes to hear it? Now Zenith introduces the smart sets with the television stereo sound Zenith invented, built in. So all you have to do to hear this in stereo is this. Zenith Advanced System 3, 19 models with built-in stereo. The smart sets, smarter than ever.
Tuesday. Pretty dress.
Well, thank you. Hi, Wally.
Angela's date falls for Mona.
What a great sweater.
Who's the Boss returns Tuesday.
This ABC Sports exclusive presentation of the 1985 World Series is being brought to you by Stroh's and Stroh Light. Now you're talking good times, and Stroh's is spoken here.
Ricky Horton becomes the 4th pitcher to work tonight for St. Louis. And he faces Bret, who is the 8th man to hit in the inning and the 17th man to bat in the last 2 innings. And he rips it into center field for a base hit. Wilson on his way to third. And the beat continues, and Bret's 4 for 4.
George, first time in 12 games last night. He had not gotten a hit in the World Series. Certainly making up for it tonight.
The Royals are on the verge of doing something historic, which we have mentioned a couple of times during the World Series. No team ever lost the first 2 at home and came back to win the series. Several teams have lost the first 2 on the road and done it, but never in this sequence or pattern. Royals hitting around for the 2nd time in 3 innings, and the pitch to White is inside. 1-0 the count. The thing that will sting for the Cardinals when they think back, not tonight, last night, and Herzog now has to vent his wrath with, well, not really. No, he's going to make a change here. He vented his wrath earlier, and Landrum is trotting in from the outfield. Herzog going to the mound. He's got Andujar in the bullpen. And he's going to bring him in. He's going to make the double switch. And so Tito Landrum, who had such a tremendous league championship series and such a brilliant start to the World Series, departs in a rather inglorious fashion with his club down by a score of 9-0. And he comes out as part of a double switch.
Out on the town, flying around, pizzas disappear. Now you're talking Friday night, now you're talking beer. Now you're talking good times, and Stroh's is spoken here.
Stroh Light, smooth, refreshing, less filling.
Now you're talking Stroh's, now you're talking beer.
talking good times, and Stroh's is spoken here.
Recently, a major airport needed a new runway.
Mr. Mayor, is it true that landing fees will rise,
They
sir?
called Merrill Lynch.
Everything's on the line, Phil.
It'll take time, so I want you to check the options we laid out.
We've got to crack this thing.
It's not good enough for the investors.
And it won't work for the city.
Look at these projections.
She's right. Everybody wins with that.
Do a variable rate structure.
More resources, better solutions.
It's brilliant.
Merrill Lynch people, a breed apart.
The following message is furnished by Major League Baseball.
1985 has been a great year for me and a record-breaking year for the family of baseball. Like any family, we've had our share of problems, and we're working hard to solve them. But we've had some great performances, too. Just take that young man in St. Louis, and that kid on the mound in New York, and that youngster like myself in Houston. From all of us in the family of baseball to all you families who cheered for us, thank you for sharing a great season.
Major League Baseball, a family tradition. Share it all.
Tuesday, Dave used to be a wild and crazy guy, but Maddie's betting he can change. Moonlighting, the perfect romantic comedy, returns Tuesday.
Herzog's double switch has Mike Jorgensen now playing left field, hitting ninth. Joaquin Andujar comes in, bats in Landrum's spot. Jorgensen will be leading off in the top of the sixth inning. We're still in the fifth. 9-0 Royals. And White at the plate. And the count, Andujar inherits, is 2-0 with Wilson at third and Bret at first. Two and one the count. Most hits in the seventh game. Bret has put his name up there with Carey and Collins and Stargell, who did it in '79, and George isn't finished by any stretch of the imagination.
He might have a couple of at-bats left, huh?
2-2. How nervous was Bret today? Well, he went to the Chiefs game this afternoon across the parking lot. In fact, he went with Whitey Herzog, or at least met Whitey there. Sat together in the same box. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes. Vince Coleman, we mentioned last night, and I'm still wondering about it. I said, you know, if the Cardinals had gotten to the point where they had a huge lead, either last night or tonight, I suspected that Whitey might give Coleman an at-bat. He might even do it under these circumstances very late in the game tonight, just so Vince can say he's played in the World Series. Even though he's hurt, he's still eligible to play. Little chopper, he could come up and swing the bat and trot down to first base, and if he somehow reached, they could take him out. But something that, you know, Herzog just might think about doing later on tonight.
He actually said today that he felt he could have played. I mean, not have played, but he actually could have played. The doctor didn't, of course, concur with that, but
still 2-2.
Yeah, if the doctor says that you should be out 5 weeks and you said you could play, there's obviously a disagreement there.
I think what he probably meant was that the pain that he had, because he was walking around a week ago with relatively little pain. It's when he started to run, especially on AstroTurf, where he did have a lot of the discomfort.
Pops foul and drifting back out of play. 2-2. Think about Frank White, the batter now, too. The old baseball academy started by Ewing Kaufman. White, the prime graduate, a man who has been here throughout his career. He was here very close to the birth of the franchise. Has played his entire career with Kansas City. And what a night like this means to a Frank White, a quiet and classy gentleman. Foul back, 2-2.
He is the only Royal that's homered in this series, and he did it off Joaquin Andujar back in Game 3. Oh, of course, Darryl Motley this evening has homered. How soon they forget, huh?
Yeah. Seems like about 4 hours ago.
What do you mean they, right?
Right, exactly.
3-2.
Jumped on that one, did you?
A lot of home runs I forgot.
Prior to tonight's game, shoulda, woulda, and coulda.
Crowd amusing itself with the wave, which is something you normally do when you're down 9-0. Softly hit off the tip of Pendleton's glove for a base hit. Wilson scores. Bret to third. They're in double figures.
Slider belt high, just right off the end of the bat. Pendleton with a great effort. See it right off the top of his glove.
Now Sundberg. Strike. I don't know what the definition in Webster's is of extreme agony, but I think one definition would have to be having to be a St. Louis Cardinal at this moment, knowing you're down 10-0 and you're only in the 5th inning. In the visiting ballpark.
If you look up the definition of agony, it would probably say dash, check 1985 World Series 7th game St. Louis Cardinals. Because it's an agonizing defeat.
Well, the agony is that you have to stay out there right now. If you get beat at the end, that's agony in another sense. To lose like they did last night, but to lose like they're doing tonight, and know that the game still has probably an hour or so to go. Back in 1934, the Cardinals beat the Tigers 11-0 in a 7th game. That has been the most one-sided defeat.
That was the same series where Ducky Medwig was taken out of the game for his own protection. And it was that game, as a matter of fact, where Medwig was taken out as the fans in left field for Detroit throwing things at Ducky.
Is that how he got his nickname? Duck?
Not bad, Palmer. Not bad.
Not too shabby.
It's 10-0. What are we going to talk about?
A lot of pitchers ducked that year because I think it was that year when Ducky Medwig had 64 doubles. It's an all-time record. Next 4 innings come up with records.
3-2 the count. Andujar angry with Dinkinger and wants Porter to come out. Now he's about ready to get tossed out of the game, and somebody better step in a hurry. Not only the frustration tonight, but the whole end of the season for Andujar, and Williams is getting him out of there. Whitey's gone. You can see that coming.
Second manager in Major League World Series history to ever get booted out outside of Earl Weaver in 1969 in a World Series game.
And Billy Martin.
Billy Martin also.
I think. We'll check it.
I remember Billy Martin's argument with Ed Sudol when he was behind the plate.
And now things are really getting very heated now, and out of the dugout they come. And the Cardinals are venting their wrath on the umpire. The Cardinals just don't know what to do right now. They are so angry and so frustrated that you could almost sense this kind of a scene coming to a head. This is a long and excruciating situation. This is why we began to talk about it in this inning. We checked it. Martin was ejected in the 76 series, so Herzog is out of there. He can stand in the tunnel and relay instructions. Really just it's a gesture when you throw a man out. Andujar is beside himself.
Well, see for yourself. Is the ball a strike?
ball wasn't a strike, I don't think, in fairness to everybody.
Of course, I don't really think, Tim, that it has anything to do with tonight. Obviously, they're upset, but last night there was the pivotal play. Dinkinger calling Orta safe at first when they felt he was out. There's Jim McKean behind the plate when Andujar pitched before, when he really did not have much control. It was all over the place. They felt that they didn't get the breaks then. There was another call that Jim McKean had on the bases, which really didn't have anything to do with it.
I have never seen a team come this unraveled, but
well,
I can understand it. I can understand it, but you have never, in recent times, watched a team come this unraveled. The pitcher comes down, the manager gets thrown out, guys are out of the dugout moving people away from umpires. But that's what happens. It's 10-0 in the 5th inning, and you've blown a 3-1 World Series lead. And you've done it this way, and you got to stay out there for another 4 innings. It's 3-2 as you get back to some semblance of baseball. And it's inside ball 4. So they're loaded up now, and Andujar's thrown out of the game, and they better get him out of there. They better get him out in a hurry. Nick Leyva, Terry Pendleton, Ozzie Smith, for a while in the clubhouse as well.
I'll tell you, Joaquin Andujar may never recover from the second half of this season.
Oh, boy. I think you're right. I think you're right. Absolutely.
Well, once again, it almost looks like an instant replay. The running fastball, it's way inside. Again, another emotional outburst. Again, it does not have anything to do with tonight. Yep. A man that was 17-4 at one point, went on to win 21 ball games, could not pitch the big game when he wanted to.
Here is Bob Forsch coming into pitches, as this has taken on bizarre dimensions right now. 10-0. Announcers always are trying to sit here figuring out ways to hold an audience when the score is 10-0. The Cardinals have done it for us. $10-0 Kansas City. But that's the other side of the story right now. Last manager ejected Billy Martin. Bruce Fremming, a National League ump, did that in '76. Herzog gets booted by the American League ump, Dinkinger. Force into pitch. Hauser knows that in a little while he will be having a friendly little chat with a gentleman at the White House. He can even rehearse his lines right now. Go back and take a look at Andujar again.
Well, it's a good thing that they got Andujar out of there. He bumps Dinkinger there. Terry Pendleton to the rescue. Nick Leyva, the first base coach, Hal Lanier. And it takes 2 or 3 of his teammates to hold him down. You really hate to see that. Talk about contrast. We have mentioned the serene stoicism of Bret Saberhagen, contrasted by the volatile style of Joaquin Andujar.
If you're wondering, and you can see it, and there is Saberhagen. How great is life right now? New daddy, World Series, you lead 10-0. And for Forsch, if you're wondering, he's being allowed to take as many pitches as necessary. It's the same as an injury situation. When a pitcher gets booted out of the game, it's just not fair physically to a reliever to ask him to come in and throw 8 pitches and work. So that's why that rule is in there. You would think, on one hand, well, it's the team's fault or the player's fault, so why let a guy come in and have as many pitches as necessary? And it's simply a matter of the fact that they have to give him this many, otherwise his arm's not ready. It's not fair to him. CFA, on the subject of contact, CFA college football comes your way this Saturday. Notre Dame against Navy. For many of you and others who will watch Florida State and Miami, Dick Hauser was telling me he's going to be home in Tallahassee by next week. He's going to that Florida State game.
He used to be the baseball coach at Florida State in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, immediately before he was named manager of the Kansas City Royals. I believe he went from the Yankee manager to the Florida State manager or coach.
Going back to Andahar, no doubt we will possibly see a suspension in the '86 season. You go back to when Bert Campaneris in '72 threw his bat at Larry Monroe, was suspended for a week the following year. Not something you like to see, but you can't lose your poise, can't lose your cool, in spite of how badly things go on the mound. I think this is just a culmination of frustration, really, for the last 2 months for Andahar, not to mention the Cardinals in general.
What if Andahar is traded to the Royals over the winter?
I don't think that's going to happen. Balboni in the dirt. That one gets away from Porter, and it's 11-0 as this massacre goes on. I would suspect right now are being managed, at least ostensibly, by Hal Lanier as you watch the wild pitch again. And that's with a capital W.
Porter tries to backhand it. It's now 11-0.
And Balboni trying to give him a 2-touchdown lead with a 3-run shot here. He's walked and singled twice. Infield is back. Lanier, I would suspect, is sort of calling the shots. I say sort of because I don't know exactly where Herzog is right now. As you see, White at third and Sundberg at second. But if he really wants to manage, he can be in the runway and pass instructions along. But Lanier at the reins, at least as far as the umpires are concerned. And Lanier may be beginning his managing career a little early because he is a prime contender for the Houston job. There is Lanier without the jacket on the right of your screen. Red Shane Deans and also Mike Rourke with Gene Gieselman, the trainer. Shane Deans, the former manager, but I think Lanier has the card. Hit in the air to right center field and deep, but McGee is on the run and chases it down. But in the inning, Kansas City sends a dozen men to the plate. Score 6, into 5, 11-0 Royals.
Stolen bases, pennant races, stand right up and cheer. Now you're talking baseball. Now you're talking beer. Now you're talking good times, and Stroh's is smoking here.
Stroh's, fire brewed for smooth, consistent taste.
Now you're talking Stroh's. Now you're talking beer. Now you're talking good times, and Stroh's is smoking here.
This is today's Chevrolet S10 Blazer.
For the fun, for the chores, for the town, or the great outdoors.
Now get low 8.8% financing on new 85 S10 Blazers, pickups, and maxi cabs.
Chevy S10 Blazer can do it all with versatility, style, and a touch of fun. No wonder it's America's favorite sport utility vehicle, Chevy S10 Blazer.
Drive today, Chevy. Live today, Chevy.
Live it.
Chevy.
Soon someone who doesn't know anything about you could assign you a new long-distance company. They won't know how much AT&T's clear long-distance connections mean to you. Or our personalized customer service, our worldwide calling. They won't know unless you tell them. AT&T long distance for over 100 years. When you reached out, we were there. And you can keep it that way. If you're asked to choose, make the choice yourself. Send in your ballot.
What's this?
Almond Delight.
Almond who?
Almond Delight.
Almonds in breakfast cereal? I think I'll pass.
Oh, come on. Wheat Rice Flakes, lightly sweetened and real almond slices.
Yeah, I got that part.
So go ahead.
Why?
Because you like it. And if you don't try it, I'm calling your mother.
Oh.
So what do you think, Stanley? Stanley?
New Almond Delight brand cereal. The almonds may surprise you, but the taste will delight you.
Stanley? The Stanley.
We start the 6th inning with Mike Jorgensen fouling the first pitch away. Al Michaels with Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver at Royal Stadium, where the champagne is on ice. The phone hookup to the White House is at the ready. And the bars will be doing a little business in western Missouri tonight. 1-1. In fact, with a score 11-0, business is booming already. Lynn Jones now playing left field for KC. That's when life is beautiful for a manager. You put the defensive replacement in the 6th inning. There's Lynn. So it's Jones, Wilson, and Motley. The infield of Bret, Biancalana, White, and Balboni, with Sundberg catching and Saberhagen on the mound. Frank White backhands this one. Nice little play by the second baseman. 1 down.
Another indication of how you win 6 Golden Gloves. Makes a play like that almost look routine.
Ozzie Smith has flied out and grounded out. And he is now 1 for 21, which figures up to 0-48. Strike, 0-1. Oh, 0-2 the count.
Back to game 1, Whitey Herzog was a little bit critical of Don Denkinger's balls and strike calls with John Tudor on the mound, and Tudor heard him talking about it, and he said, that's not the case. I was awful. He only gave up 1 run, but he said he called a good game. So I think sometimes it's to blame umpires for your own inadequacies, and Tudor was not going to use him as an excuse.
If you take your time and get to know and talk to John Tudor, I was talking to Peter Gammons of the Boston Globe about this the other night, and a couple of the other writers that are attuned to really what's happening, and you don't throw a whole bunch of questions at him and cause him to walk off or stalk off in a huff or whatever. It's a very interesting fella, and he does not make excuses as it's hit into left center field for a base hit. Smith is on, but unfortunately for Tudor, sometimes you come into a situation like this and the perception is of a malcontent or a fellow who is quiet to the point that he's nearly uncommunicative. Tudor's got a lot to say. Just listen.
Well, he talked about all the distraction. He said he just wants to come out, pitch, hang around with his teammates, and because of the literally thousands of media people here, it makes it difficult. Of course, Tim, you played in many World Series, and you know that the most difficult thing sometimes is just to go out and take batting practice and go out and do your work, mainly because of the media attention.
That's true, but you know that media attention is there, and you, in a sense, crave that because you realize that if all that media attention is there, you'll be in the World Series. That's all part of the game, in my opinion. Of course, I'm on the other side right now, but that was my opinion when I played the game.
Ball players almost have to come into these situations now prepared for what's going to happen at a World Series, and that's one of the problems. A lot of them are not prepared for what's going to take place in postseason action. The question after question after question, and the intense scrutiny as McGee grounds it foul. You know, it's going to reach a point where you've got to sit down and talk to them and say, now here's what to expect and here's how you ought to try to deal with it. Euchre finally got his seat. That is a Euchre mask. 0-2 pitch is in the air to right, and Motley makes the catch. 2 down. Smith at first. And Tommy Herr is the batter. 7th game shutouts go back to Babe Adams in 1909. Dizzy Dean pitched one in 34. Johnny Padres, that's the first time the Dodgers ever won the World Series. Johnny Cooks did it the next year. Then Lou Burdett against the Yankees. Ralph Terry against the Giants in 62, and Koufax did it against the Twins. And when Terry pitched his, that was the 1-0 game. Jack Sanford, another 20-game winner that year, was the starter for San Francisco, and that's the game that ended with McCovey hitting the line drive to Bobby Richardson. Little pop-up. Biancalana's there. Royals are 3 innings away, and we'll be back after this from our local station.
When Spencer for Hire moves to Tuesdays at 10, 9 Central.
Are you pregnant?
Susan and Spencer face their greatest crisis.
You mean abortion?
For my decision, I couldn't do it.
If I do, what about us?
I don't know.
Spencer for Hire, Tuesday.
Throughout motoring history, a number of Jaguars have been recognized as milestone motor cars. Combining timeless beauty with advanced technology, the Jaguar XJ6 has also achieved milestone status. Refined over the years, the XJ6 offers the reliability of proven engineering and the security of a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty. Jaguar, a blending of art and machine.
It was in '62. Corvettes were burning up the roads. Movies cost $1, and America was getting acquainted with the great taste of Taco Bell. After 24 years, we're celebrating with the Wheels, Reels, and Meals sweepstakes. We're giving away 24 years of cool Corvettes, VCRs, and movies, and great-tasting Taco Bell meals. Wheels, Reels, and Meals. Enter at Taco Bell today. And enjoy our celebration meal, a regular taco, bean burrito, and medium soft drink for just $1.49.
Patience. That's what struck me the most learning about Coors beer. From the malting to the brewing, aging, the whole process. They never hurry. It takes about twice as long to make Coors as it does any other major beer. Yeah, they do take their time. But you can taste the difference right here. A beer that's a little less heavy, never bitter, but with all the spirit and patience of a great beer. Coors is the one.
Coming up after the movie, the countdown is underway for the big spin. Mark Coogan looks at the real winners in the game. And Tommy Lasorda and Jay Johnstone join Ted Dawson with a look at the World Series winner.
The lottery's big spin, Monday night at 9.
Going to the bottom of the 6th inning now with Darryl Motley to lead off, and Buddy Biancalana and Bret Saberhagen. The Royals have outscored the Chiefs today, who got 10 at Arrowhead Stadium in their loss. It's 11-0 Royals, with Motley 2 for 3 on the night. Bob Forsch throws a strike. This is one of those very rare games where you will not see too many people leave with a score of 11-0. They want to savor every moment. 1-1, so this big crowd of 41,000 wants to be in on it at the end. It's a different celebration than you would have had in St. Louis. As you look at Landrum, Busch Stadium is right downtown, so it would be sort of a movable celebration in the Mound City. That's foul back. This ballpark is about 10 miles to the east of downtown, just off I-70, and it's relatively isolated. And so there'll be scattered celebrations tonight.
Well, it's also interesting to see how the Royals coming back will affect different players on the Cardinal team.
Ripped to center for a base hit.
I mean, after all, some of the guys may never get to another World Series. Look at Mike Jorgensen, 37 years old. He didn't play in a World Series in 1982. Of course, Ozzie Smith did, Bob Forsch did, Darrell Porter. There are several Cardinals that did, Tommy Herr. I'll tell you, when a team comes back and wins 3 in a row, when you have a 3-1 lead, you never forget it. And I mentioned that earlier. And it happened to Jim Palmer in '79.
Didn't devastate us as we won 100 games the next year. And unfortunately, Yankees won 103. But it's not that the fact that you never forget it. It's the fact that nobody ever lets you forget it.
1 ball, 1 strike, the count.
And if you lose 4 games to 1, similar to what happened to San Diego, you lost the World Series. But as Reggie said, if you get up 3-1 and then you lose, you didn't lose the World Series, you blew the World Series. I'm not really sure that's the case, but that's what everybody thinks.
Her to Smith, and Ozzie tries to turn it and does. Nice play, real nice play. Smith had to take a lower throw than we normally do from a Tommy Herr and come up from the side and get it. So 2 down, and Saberhagen is the batter. Well, what do you do with the rest of your life? You're 21 years old, and you won 20, and you've won the World Series.
I'll tell you what you do. You have 2 years under your belt, and you go to arbitration.
Popped in the air, and Clark running over with Porter, and it's Porter trying to make the catch. He had more room than he thought. And it's 0-2.
Well, Darryl Porter coming, it kind of reminds you of that play last night with nobody out, and Orta at first base, and Balboni popped to Jack Clark or Porter, and Jack Clark did not get to it. That ball was not high enough, however, for Clark to get to. And I was only kidding about Saberhagen in arbitration because I doubt that the ownership here will allow him to go to arbitration.
Well, they've given lifetime contracts here to Bret and Quisenberry, and John Schuerholz, the GM, and I believe Willie Wilson fouled at the plate. And I would imagine if Mr. Fogelman is in that frame of mind in the future, that the fellow you're looking at right now may very well fall into that category.
If I were Bret Saberhagen, I'd see him tonight. Because he's going to be in that frame of mind tonight.
Oh, he'll see him tonight. You know that. 2-2.
Played Little League ball against Avron Fogelman on the sandlots of Memphis, Tennessee. He went one way and I went the other. Here I am with you two guys. He owns a ball club, and I'm with you two guys, right?
Well, he invites us over now and then, right?
Yeah, right.
In there for called strike 3. Casey done in the 6th. To the 7th we go. 11-0.
No matter how fast life gets, no matter how hard you work, Right Guard can help keep you smelling good for up to 24 hours. That's protection. Right Guard protection.
You work hard, you need Right Guard. Rise and shine, cast your line, catch the limit here. Now you're talking fishing, now you're talking beer. Now you're talking good times, and Stroh's is smoking here.
Stroh's, fire brewed for smooth, consistent taste.
Now you're talking Stroh's, now you're talking beer. Now you're talking good times, and Stroh's is smoking here.
Introducing the amazing Minolta Maxim, the world's easiest SLR, because it alone has built-in automatic focusing. Look, Maxim's autofocus lets you get perfect shots before others can even focus. Change lenses. Maxim again gets the shots that used to get away.
Only the human eye focuses faster.
Minolta Maxim.
Only from the mind of Minolta.
Wednesday, the insiders go after bad cops.
This guy owns a Ferrari and a cabin cruiser. Thinks he's Sonny Crockett.
The insiders return Wednesday.
You'll love it.
Bret Saberhagen facing Jack Clark as we go to the 7th inning. Royals lead 11-0 in Game 7, and it's outside, ball 1, 1-0. Clark with one of the Cardinals' 3 hits tonight. They've all been singles. Tudor the count. In the air to left field, deep but playable for Lynn Jones, who backs up and makes the catch. So 1 down, Van Slyke coming up, and I had this earlier chat with Bret Saberhagen. This is all fantasy land stuff. I mean, you're not in high school that long ago, and we're talking about the 7th game of the World Series.
Seems like it's fantasy land. It seems like I'm still up on cloud 9, and hopefully I can be there for a while to come. Going home and playing with Drew William, my baby boy, eventually, and it's just something to look forward to.
Van Slyke grounds it by Balboni and into right field for a base hit. And that's hit number 4.
Even the way Bret Saberhagen talks, he has that innocence about him. Reminds you of Brandon DeWilde and Shane. You know, with that innocence that he has?
Yeah. By the way, if you did not hear the news today, as it's hit into right field for a base hit. So a slight murmur from the Cardinals here in the 7th inning. Runners at first and second and 1 out. Billy Martin is out and Lou Piniella is in. Piniella named today as the Yankee manager by Clyde King. And so a change in New York. Martin gone again.
Your attention, please. Batting for the pitcher, Bob Ford.
Steve Braun batting for the pitcher, Force. The Cardinals used 5 pitchers in that 5th inning. Half the staff. In fact, more than half.
Steve Braun, one of the best pinch hitters in the National League with 114 lifetime pinch hits, excuse me.
Willie Wilson and Jones are there, and it's Wilson making the catch. And Clark is tagging at second and goes to third as Pendleton goes back to first. I beg your pardon, Van Slyke moving to third. So 2 down. And Darryl Porter is at the plate.
The catcher, Darryl Porter.
When the Cardinals used those 5 pitchers in the 5th, that tied a series record by Baltimore against Pittsburgh in the 9th inning in 1979. The club Palmer played on as Porter hits it in the air to right field. Motley moving back and makes the catch. So the Cardinals' little whimper comes up empty. 11-0 Kansas City.
East Point, Maine and Old Milwaukee both mean something great to these guys. East Point means a New England clam bake, summer fun and food at its best. And Old Milwaukee means a great beer. Cold, crisp Old Milwaukee beer and smooth golden Old Milwaukee Light.
Old Milwaukee.
And Old Milwaukee Light.
Taste as great as their name.
You know, guys, it doesn't get any better than this.
Today, Chevrolet is making it fun with an international auto show.
Take a look, get the feel.
See the world from behind the wheel.
Come and be a part of it all.
Today, Chevrolet introduces your next small car. It's designed for high quality, high affordability, and fun. this year, more than 750,000 Americans will buy a small car at your Chevy dealer's International Auto Show. Shouldn't you?
Drive today, Chevy. Live today, Chevy. Chevy.
So I forgot gas.
It's freezing. My throat hurts.
Take maximum strength Sucrets.
Only doctor-recommended Sucrets has diclonine for longer-lasting temporary relief of minor sore throat pain.
Still working.
Longer-lasting maximum-strength Sucrets.
Oh. Don't you two ever sleep?
She's got double trouble.
Can't sleep. Achy, too. Take Sominex 2 pain relief formula.
The aspirin-free pain reliever plus the sleep ingredient most preferred by doctors. Sominex 2 pain relief formula. Double relief for double trouble.
What would you do if you won $2 million? Find out on the show that can really change your life. Monday night at 9 on Channel 7, your official lottery station.
The crowd with major gusto, singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" and now mouthing the words to "Kansas City, Here I Come" as Ken Daly comes into pitch. So what started out as this little old interstate squabble is coming to a conclusion as Daly picks up here 11-0, Kansas City on top.
You do know the song they're singing in St. Louis. I got the St. Louis Blues. 11 runs will do it.
The Black and Blues. Lynn Jones in the bottom of the 7th inning. Takes inside.
Well, they're certainly not singing the Royal Blues, represented by Kansas City. A remarkable job by this Kansas City club, coming back to win 3 in a row.
To right center field, and caught by Van Slyke, 1 down. So last night, that dramatic victory, and then the rout tonight.
I enjoyed picking up the Kansas City Star this morning, and I don't know if you have the royalty, Al, about that great line you used when the U.S. Olympic team beat the Russians in 1980. Do you believe in miracles? Yes, but if that's the case, you probably made some money because they stole it this morning.
Always happy to help the boys at the Star out. Wilson hits a fly ball to center field, and McGee goes back and makes the catch. Almost misjudged the ball. So 2 down, and here comes Bret, who's 4 for 4 tonight.
The third baseman, George Bret.
Paul Molitor did that against St. Louis. So he had 5 hits in a game in 1982 in Game 1. 1-0. That series had a little happier ending than this one for the Cardinals. By the way, we did check downstairs, and Whitey Herzog is not in the runway. You don't have to be in the runway managing when you're down 11-0. If you're down 3-2, you're in the runway. 2-0 the count.
Yeah, the Cardinals in '82 went back to St. Louis down 3 games to 2, and John Stuper won Game 6 to even it at 3-3 against the Brewers, and Joaquin Andujar was the winner in Game 7. What a difference 4 years makes.
What a contrast. Bret popping it foul back out of play, and the count 2-1. And think of the Cardinals Thursday. They come to the ballpark in St. Louis. The whole town is ready to celebrate. The champagne is on ice. The lockers are ready to be protected with a plastic covering. And they're going home right now in gloom. 3-1. Again, the Royals trying to do something that's never been done. Lose 2 at home to start and win the series. Shattered bat and a fly ball to center. And McGee puts it away. An inning and a half to go as we go to the 8th.
Crow Wing
old Minnesota and old Milwaukee both mean something great to these guys. Crow Wing means Northern Pike, big and mean. And old Milwaukee means a great beer, cold, crisp old Milwaukee beer, and smooth, golden old Milwaukee Light.
There's nothing like the flavor of a special place, and old Milwaukee beer.
Old Milwaukee and old Milwaukee Light. You know, it doesn't get any better than this.
Rick Masters is an artist. He makes his own money. Richard Chance is a federal agent. He makes his own laws. They're on a collision course in the City of Angels. To live and die in L.A.
Rated R. Starts Friday. Check newspapers for a theater near you.
Ever notice about the only cold remedy that hasn't compared itself to contact is chicken soup? So in the interest of complete disclosure, does Mom's chicken soup give you faster relief than contact? No. Longer lasting relief? Can it relieve head congestion better than contact? Are you kidding? Ma, please, Ma, don't feel bad, Mom. None of these can beat contact either. Contact. There's still nothing better.
Standing in the shadow of its greatest trial, a young America smoldering in the hate that challenged the union of North and South, starting next Sunday.
Told you about Lou Piniella, named manager of the Yanks today. Here's what he had to say.
I'm happy. I'm sad in one respect in that I'm taking a man's job that I coached for and that I played for. I learned a heck of a lot of baseball from Billy, and I'm certainly appreciative of that. But as far as managing the ball club, I'm happy, and I'm certain that I can do a good job.
I'm pretty certain, too. He's going to be a good manager. Jorgensen leading things off in the 8th inning. Smith and McGee to follow. So in the big media center, you got two young, bright guys managing the teams right now, Davy Johnson and Piniella.
Davy Johnson, of course, an ex-teammate of Jim Palmer's. Done an outstanding job for the Mets over the last 2 seasons. And now Lou Piniella, 2 good baseball men.
Another one of my former teammates.
Yeah, that's
A-ball,
right.
Aberdeen.
That's right. That's right. I remember you telling us that at the production meeting.
Lou, a little bit short of temper then. Used to have a tendency to break a helmet now and then. Comes in, breaks the helmet. Utility infield at the end of the bench says, Lou, even if you hit 300, you're going to break 7 out of 10 helmets. Then he went to water coolers.
Balboni. 1 out. Smith is at the plate. We are getting a report from our news department that John Tudor has had stitches taken in his hand at a nearby hospital at St. Luke's. Was released at 9:30 a half an hour ago, and the hospital has confirmed it as he put his hand through a window, is the report we are getting, or through some glass. Popped up, and Bret in foul ground. So this has been an unbelievably scintillating night for the Kansas City Royals, and just the most incredibly unbelievable night for the St. Louis Cardinals on the other side of the coin, with Herzog being ejected and Andujar very fortunate that he didn't wind up decking Denkinger, and that would have probably cost him a season at least. And now the Tudor report. McGee breaks his bat, and down he goes. Royals 11, Cardinals nothing after 7½.
Even in the dead of winter at 40 below,
My milk's got to get through. Kids depend on me. I can't be out sick. First sign of a cold, I take Alka-Seltzer plus cold medicine. Fights a cold like nobody's business, and fast. It clears up my head, my nose, my congestion, takes care of my aches. I give it to my hired man, too. Because if we take Alka-Seltzer plus cold medicine, we feel better fast, and the milk gets through.
Alka-Seltzer plus cold medicine. Fast, effective relief for tough winter colds.
Have you heard the news about the 501 blues? It's a personal gene fitted specially for you. When you walk that walk, you tell the world you're the greatest. Man, these blue jeans just can't lose. I've got to get the blues on my body. Levi's buttons are blue, so blue, so blue, so blue, so 501.
Night training. It never stops for Mr. Goodwrench. Cars change, he changes. He picks from over 100 General Motors service schools to stay on the leading edge of service technology. He keeps up with fuel injection, turbocharger changes, new electronics, transaxle advances, you name it. He's trained to be good. He's trained to stay good. Mr. Goodwrench. No one knows your GM car better. No one.
The U.S., the USSR, advancing toward an historic meeting, positioning their pieces. Reagan and Gorbachev in Geneva. Follow the moves to the summit with ABC News.
Bottom of the 8th inning. Ready-made sign. Bottom of the 8th. And the crowd hopes it's a quick bottom of the 8th because they want to get to the top of the 9th in a big hurry. It's the one time you hope the home team goes out 1-2-3. Frank White to lead things off. 11 runs, 14 hits for the Royals, no runs, 5 hits for the Cardinals. Ken Daly. Swing and a miss in the count 0-1. We talked about dreams at the outset tonight and what every kid dreams about, the 7th game of the World Series. On the flip side, there are nightmares. And that's what kind of night it's been for the Cardinals. It's been a brutal night. And it's been a night in which not only were they routed on the field, but all of the extraneous activity as well will linger in the minds of a lot of people for a long time.
Well, I just don't think, though, and I go back to pitching the last game of the '82 season, and it's not a World Series, but it's whether you get in the playoffs or not, and losing, being on the mound after, I think, 1-13 out of 14, and even though we did lose to the Brewers, who went on to be in the World Series.
White hitting that foul.
By the score of 10-2. The fans brought the team back on the field to applaud their efforts for the year. I think because of a game like this, and the fact that you're talking about the Cardinals and maybe in a lot of people's mind blown the World Series, you forget the 101 victories during the season. You forget the clutch home run by Jack Clark to win the playoffs. And you don't take this game in its true perspective. This is, it's kind of, Tim, and you can relate to this, the kind of game in the middle of the season, you don't think anything about the 11-0 blowouts because you just forget about it and you go on. But when it is the 7th game of the World Series, it might stay with you a little bit longer.
Well, I think, to be perfectly candid, what's going to stay in the minds of the public could be the perception of the way the Cardinals lost this ball game.
Absolutely.
Joaquin Andujar and that fit of it was more than frustration, and it was a nasty scene.
To left field, and Jorgensen is there, and that's the point I was making. And the players will forget about it. They'll come back and they can win a pennant next year. 11-0 means nothing in that context. They're going to let this linger. But in terms of what people will remember, and we talked about the visual images that you have of a World Series and Bret sliding into the dugout and certain plays that you remember forever. A visual image a lot of people will recall is that scene in the 5th inning.
But do you think it's fair to indict a team for one man's action? You talked about, and I'm not, I am innovating that you are. But you talked about Joaquin Andujar. You talked about somebody that was very talented, very frustrated, colorful when he was successful, and very volatile when he was, I guess, experiencing tough times, which undoubtedly continued tonight.
Well, it's the whole unraveling scene. It's Whitey being thrown out. It's Andujar doing what he did. It's the Tudor report we just got, even though we don't see it.
And you don't know whether it's accidental either.
Exactly. It's the whole thing. 0-1 the count. Balboni in the air to right center field. So Steve goes the entire postseason without an extra base hit. But all things considered, he's a pretty happy man. 3 outs to go.
Watching an adventure movie on a VCR? Terrific. But you're only hearing half the fun until you hear Zenith's Hi-Fi Stereo VCR. With stereo sound so real, it's like being there. You can even tune in and record stereo TV broadcasts. Zenith's VHS Hi-Fi Stereo VCR.
Look out! Quicksand, old boy.
One of the smart VCRs. Zenith, smarter than ever.
One of the most densely populated places on Earth is your kitchen counter. So crowded, the only place to go is up. Presenting the Space Maker line, now from Black & Decker. Coffee maker, mixer, toaster oven, electric knife, and can opener. The only completely coordinated line of under-the-cabinet appliances. They return your counter to a more natural state. The Space Maker line. From Black & Decker, ideas at work.
The other night it started right. The kids were all asleep. So I snuffed up our favorite chips and I did not make a peep. I got in bed and then I said, baby, what's on TV? Knock, knock, who's that? Can we have some ruffles too? Everybody wants my ruffles. Ruffles red potato chips. Everybody wants some Bridges. Wants some action. Wants some ruffles satisfaction. Everybody wants my ruffles red potato chips.
Coming off their big win over USC, Notre Dame tangles with Navy, or the Miami Hurricanes battle number 9 Florida State. CFA coverage begins with College Football Today, Saturday.
11-0 Kansas City to the 9th inning. Tommy Herr, Jack Clark, and Andy Van Slyke. Bret Saberhagen lost in the shuffle, pitching a shutout, pitching brilliantly again. He had it when they needed it in Game 3, and he's their man tonight.
He certainly is. We talked about control. Hasn't walked anybody. The Royals sent 12 people to the plate in the 5th inning.
White. 2 outs to go.
On the bench for about, well, seemed like about 40 minutes. Comes back out, throws strikes. Everybody thinks it's a walk when the score is 11-0, but you have a tendency sometimes, a lot of pitchers can't pitch in big leagues, lose their concentration. That hasn't been the case tonight.
Clark at the plate. One thing about the Kansas City fans, and they can be very proud of it. For the first time in a while, we have no horses ringing the field. 1-1. You don't need them here. They are not the kind of people who are about ready to go out and tear up George Thomas' property. 1-2. And that's sort of refreshing these days.
You could almost pose that as we don't think.
We don't think. I'm pretty sure of it. Now, a few may wander out there. In the air to center field. And it's Wilson. And there's 1 out to go. Andy Van Slyke, the batter. The 2 Brets sharing a delicious moment. to Motley for the title. The Kansas City Royals are the 1985 world champions. We'll go to their locker room when we come back.
Just when it seemed we couldn't go any higher or make our batteries last any longer, we at Duracell topped ourselves. Introducing the new highly improved copper top battery. So improved it'll last up to 30% longer than any battery we've ever made. Once again, Duracell reaches a new height. Duracell, when it comes to making them last longer, we never stop.
For the first time, there's a soap both pure and mild enough to be called pure and natural. Pure and gentle. Pure and honest. Pure and natural through and through. It's the pure and mild soap for you. Pure and natural. Hers and his. It's the purest mild soap there is. New Pure and Natural. And nothing else.
Well, I got horses coming in and out of here all day long. Mealtime can come differently every day. I get this gnawing in my belly.
Snickers satisfies you.
Nothing satisfies like Snickers. It's a good solid snack.
Packed with peanuts, peanut butter nougat, caramel, and milk chocolate. Mmm.
Snickers satisfies you.
Packed with peanuts, Snickers really satisfies.
When I'm feeling hungry, Snickers is one thing I know I can count on to satisfy me.
Very shortly to the locker room, we want to tell you ABC's exclusive presentation of the 1985 World Series is brought to you by Chevrolet, who invite you to live the style, performance, and fun of Chevrolet in 1986. By Old Milwaukee and Old Milwaukee Light. It doesn't get any better than this. By the makers of Right Guard. You work hard, you need Right Guard. And by Minolta, creator of the incredible new Maxim Autofocus SLR, only from the minds of Minolta. Travel arrangements made through and a promotional fee paid by United Airlines. United is the only airline to serve all 50 states. Let's go to Reggie Jackson.
We have absolute excitement in the Kansas City clubhouse. Dick Hauser, congratulations to you.
Thank you, Reggie. It was been a long haul, but it was well worth it. I'm not surprised that we did it. I'm surprised how we did it. A blowout ball game.
Mr. Fogelman, how do you feel?
Well, Reggie, I just feel fantastic. I'm just very honored to be involved with such a great organization and great people, and I'm a lucky guy, and I really appreciate being here.
Mr. Kaufman, I've played against your ball club a long time.
You beat us too, Reggie. I want to say that when the Royals lost, they lost with dignity, and when we win the same way.
Well, you certainly have proved that tonight. The Commissioner of Baseball, Peter Uberoff, has a trophy to present, the World Championship trophy to the Kansas City Royals.
Get a hold of that, Peter.
He's a courageous team, Reggie. Courageous folks.
We got it.
Congratulations, you guys.
How about that? Okay. I got it. Yeah, how about that?
All right, good. All right. Dick, tell me about the ball game tonight. You guys, you know, you had John Tudor and Bret Saberhagen pitching tonight. Did you ever expect an outcome like this?
Not really, Reggie. You just never know what's going to happen in this game. I knew Saberhagen would pitch a good ball game. He's done it all year. I'm surprised it was a blowout game, but you know baseball, anything can happen. The Cardinals are a good ball club. They're a good organization. We started catching a break or two. I thought once we came back to Kansas City, they didn't put us away in St. Louis. when we got back here, I don't think our guys were cocky or overconfident, but we kind of had that look in our eye. Not Dick Hauser, but the ball club. They proved it.
Dick, before we present the Chevrolet Most Valuable Player Trophy, what about the Kansas City Royals? The Western Division of the American League is supposed to be the weak division.
I heard that. I've heard that for a couple of years now. Well, that's history, too, just like a lot of records and a lot of things that happen in dynasties and all those other things. We're a good, solid ball club, and we've got great pitching, and the character came out in this World Series. It was a great series for us, Reggie.
I understand that the Chevrolet Most Valuable Player Award, the most valuable player is Bret Saberhagen, who pitched a shutout tonight, gave up 1 run in Game 3. Mr. Commissioner, the Most Valuable Player Trophy over here. Here is Bret Saberhagen. Come on up here, Bret.
You can't have them both,
Bret, outstanding game. What can you say?
You know, coming in here, I was extremely nervous.
You were nervous?
I was real nervous. Fortunately, we got some key plays. I don't think this should all go to me. We had 25 guys contribute in this series. Dane Orch last night, and you can just go up and down the line. It really belongs to everybody on this ball club.
Mr. Commissioner, the Most Valuable Player Award.
Well, this is the Bret Saberhagen, the Chevrolet Most Valuable Player. This is yours, Bret. It's a guy that's made this whole country proud. A hell of a ball player. Great series.
Let's get that trophy turned around so everybody can see it.
I don't weigh this much as the trophy weighs.
I understand we have a special phone call from a special guest.
Will you
the
get the
President of the
line?
United States. And who would he like to speak to first? How about if he speaks to Avron Fogelman, the owner of the Kansas City Royals? Do we have the telephone call in? It is not here yet. They're not ready for the phone call yet.
Let me say hi to my wife, Janine, and Drew in the hospital. If bring this home to you tonight, and hopefully we can both enjoy it for the rest of the year and maybe one next year.
While we're waiting, we will go over to Tim McCarver in the St. Louis Cardinal clubhouse. We'll be right back.
And my guest is Whitey Herzog. Whitey, you won 108 ball games this year, and I don't know whether congratulations are in order, certainly for winning the 108, but you couldn't win that 109th.
Well, actually, Timmy, tonight's ball game was kind of a laugher from the other way, you know, and we didn't play very well. John couldn't make a pitch. He didn't have his control. He couldn't get his changeup over. They swung the bats pretty good, and they beat us tonight. And we should have put it away last night, and we didn't. And that's just one of those things. But when you play a 7-game World Series and you only hit about 165 as a team and you only score 13 runs, you certainly don't deserve to win.
Obviously, you can tip your hat to the fine pitchers on the Royals staff, but here's a club that led the National League in hitting, 264, led the National League in runs scored. If you could pinpoint one thing, I guess you would have before now, but what do you think was the cause of that adroit stoppage in hitting that happened to your ball club?
Well, Timmy, they got a good staff. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind they got a good young pitching staff, but they're not that good. I mean, if they're that good, they'd have won 135 ball games. They won 99 ball games this year, and we won 108. They're world champions, and I'll tip my hat to them. And, you know, Kansas City has had a lot of frustrations. I've lost a lot of big ball games in this park, 2 times to the Yankees in playoffs, 3 times in a row, and 2 times in the 9th inning of the 5th game. Last night's ball game was a big ball game. And the fans in Kansas City, after almost 30 years in baseball, really, this is their first championship, and they've been great fans, and I congratulate them. I'd have liked to won, don't get me wrong, but I'm very happy about my ball club. They played great all year, and why we stopped hitting, I don't know. It's just one of those things. But when you think about that we've only scored 13 runs, and yet we went to the 7th game of the World Series, and really could have put it away in 6.
Whitey, we received reports that John Tudor was released from the hospital with possible stitches in his left hand. Can you tell us about that, or do you want to?
Oh, yeah. There's no sense in not talking about it. I mean, he's got a bandage on his index finger of his pitching hand. John was awful upset. He pitched so great for us, and he knew he couldn't make a pitch, and he couldn't get his change over, and he threw Motley a fastball, and he hit it out. And then the next inning, he walked the guy with the base loaded, just couldn't get the ball where he wanted. He come off the field, and they had a fan in the dugout, and he, in frustration, he kind of swung at it and hit his pitching hand and cut it. Nothing severe. It's been stitched up. No tendon damage. There's nothing like that. But It was just the idea that he was awful down in the dumps.
Speaking of down in the dumps, obviously Joaquin Andujar was down in the dumps too. Do you think the show of frustration and his temper tonight will affect his performance next year, possibly after sitting on it, and the public's perception of him as a pitcher for the Cardinals?
Oh, he'll probably win 20 games. Unfortunately, he won 20 this year in August, and everybody's on him. But if he wins 20 next year by the All-Star break or by August, I'll take that.
Will he remain a Cardinal next year?
Well, I'd say so. I mean, he's been a good pitcher for us, and you know, I kind of like that. You know, I don't care about him getting frustrated, but really, I mean, he's been a good pitcher since he's been here. I've had him since right before the strike in 1981, and he's been an awful good pitcher for me. And he takes the ball, he wants to pitch, and I would say he'd probably pitch the second or third game of the season next year.
And you're an awfully good manager, my friend, and I thank you for spending your time with us, and congratulations on a fine year.
Timmy, I appreciate that, and you know, nobody expected us to go anywhere. We ended up losing the 7th game of the World Series. I'm sorry it wasn't a better show. We really didn't play very well. We really didn't hit very well, and I was hoping the night's ball game would be a better ball game.
Let's go back to Reggie Jackson in the winner's locker room.
Thank you very much, Tim. A heck of a lot different on this side of the clubhouse. Dick Hauser, I understand you have a phone call from a special guest, Mr. President of the United States.
Well, I haven't heard anything yet, but we're expecting the president to call, and we're excited.
He's on here.
Hello? President Reagan?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Who's this, Dick?
This is Dick Hauser. Yes, sir.
Hey,
Skipper.
listen, I know you've all got some celebrating to do, but I just couldn't resist making a call to tell you how great everything is, and of course I'm supposed to be a kind of a nonpartisan fellow on this sort of thing, but congratulations for a great finish.
Well, we appreciate it, and we think we did it the American way with good hard work, and surround yourself with good people. This is a strong organization, and our players were confident. The last couple of games, I've never seen young people so confident, so it was a big win for us. Thank you.
Well, listen, earlier this season, I know a lot of sportscasters were speculating that it was going to wind up with a subway series between the two New York teams. But you and the Cards you had a different transportation plan. Yours was not a subway, it was Interstate 70.
You're right. We wanted that shorter trip. Yes, we felt fortunate to get to win, first of all, in our division, and then we played a tough Toronto club right down to the wire, and you saw what happened tonight. So give all players credit. They did a great job. Thank you for your call.
7.5 games back in July, and then down 3-1 in games back-to-back in these two series, and came back out of all of it. And
well, give the players credit. I mentioned confidence earlier. The players were confident. I've never seen young people, players, veteran players, whatever, have that look in their eye. I think especially when they didn't put us away in St. Louis, we felt like once we got back here, we could win it.
Well, listen, I could start George Bret and Willie Wilson, Bret Saberhagen, and Jim Quisenberry. Well, I better stop because I really should be listing the whole squad for this terrific effort.
Well, I'd like for you to speak to some people there. Let some of these other players talk to you for a minute, if you don't mind.
Fine.
Thank you, Mr. President. We appreciate your call.
How you doing, Mr. President?
Just fine.
Oh, that's great. I'm doing just great, too. Having a baby, win the World Series in 2 days, it couldn't be any better.
Well, I can guess that. I've been here watching this, and from that finish last night and then tonight, putting it away the way you did, this must be the proof is in the pudding, and it must be pretty sweet tasting right now.
Oh, it definitely is, and it's just been great talking to you, and let me give the phones over to somebody else now.
Okay.
Take care.
Mr. President, you ain't Kaufman of the Kansas City Royals?
Yes.
I want to say first that this team was built by Joe Burke and John Sherholz, and they deserve the credit. And we're going to go on. We won with dignity, and I'm ready to help you balance the budget. Whatever you want to do, we'll take care of it for you.
Well,
let me turn you over to George Bret.
After the way you handled this ball game tonight, I'd be very happy to have you on my team for handling the budget.
I've been with you all the way. And here's George Bret, the greatest hitter in baseball today. George, say hello to President Reagan.
Mr. Reagan.
Yes, George.
How are you, sir?
Just fine.
That's good. I met you last winter. I was back there for a touchdown club and stopped by the White House, and you were just landing on the lawn, and a friend of mine is secretary for the White House and brought me over and introduced myself to you. You remember that?
I remember, and listen, just congratulations for a great effort, all of you. can be very proud.
Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. President.
We'll now go back to Al Michaels. Congratulations to the Kansas City Royals from us at ABC.
All right, thank you, Reggie, and our thanks up here, of course, to Alan Roth and to Steve Hurt for a great job. And history made tonight by the Royals, the first team in history to lose the first two at home and then win the World Series. Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Reggie Jackson, Tim McCarver saying so long from Kansas City, with our deepest appreciation to the gentlemen whose names you'll be seeing, the ladies and gentlemen who made this series possible.
The executive producer of ABC Sports is Rune Armitage. The 1985 World Series produced by Chuck Howard and Dennis Lewin, directed by Chet Forty. Technical directors Mike Blazo, Barry Clemens, and Chet Mazurek. Associate directors Earl Fryman, Garland Simon, and John McGinnis. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports, recognized around the world as the leader in sports television.